Chapter 1930. The spatial formation the star below God realm had created specifically for the God-Child tournament was very strange. It was a huge circular space formed by layers of supreme divine abilities that looked like undulating waves. It was a spectacular sight. The participating geniuses from different God realms and forces each occupied a layer of space. They looked close to each other, but in reality, they were separated by endless space. Due to the isolation of the spatial formation, Su Fang could only sense a few layers of space around him even if he pushed his power to the limit. He didn't find any familiar faces, but he did sense many geniuses whose strength surpassed the heavenly God realm. The rules of the Kimiko Hoshino tournament were personally set by Qishao Shinjun from the upper echelons of the star field. They hadn't been announced to the public yet, so no one knew what the rules were. Including the star below God realm geniuses, every participating genius was nervous and full of anticipation. 3 days later, Qishao Shinjun appeared on a floating platform in the center of the spatial formation, accompanied by hundreds of star below God realm giants. Just like the first time they met, Qishao Shinjun was bold, powerful, and domineering. He had a supreme aura that made people look up to him. Beside Qishao Shinjun was a middle-aged man in a starry robe. His aura was empty, and he gave off a vast and unpredictable feeling. It was the star below God realm's realm master. The appearance of so many experts caused millions of geniuses to hold their breath. The entire space was filled with a nervous and excited atmosphere. Qishao Shinjun nodded at the star below God realm's realm master and said, "Let's begin." The star below God realm's realm master slowly flew into the air, his majestic voice resounding throughout the enormous formation space. This seat will not repeat the importance of this star below God-Child battle. Now, this seat will place the rules in everyone's hands, so that everyone can remember them clearly. As soon as he finished speaking, swoosh, 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 from each layer of the formation space, glittering and translucent balls of light floated out like surging water droplets, appearing in front of each participating genius. I wonder if the rules of this tournament are beneficial to me. Su Fang reached out and grabbed the water droplet. The water droplet melted as soon as it touched his hand, and a large amount of information was interpreted by Su Fang's consciousness. It was the rules of this Divine Sun competition. The summit competition was divided into preliminaries and the official competition. Only those who entered the top 10,000 in the preliminaries could enter the official competition. Out of the 10 million contestants, only 10,000 were left after the preliminaries. It could be seen how cruel this competition was. From this, it could be seen that the purpose of the God-Sun competition was not to train, but to select. The great waves would wash away the sand, and the true peerless geniuses would be selected from the numerous geniuses. The rules of the preliminaries were very peculiar and relatively fair. The preliminaries were held in the inner world of a divine artifact called the Universal Disk. Every participating genius entered the inner world of the Universal Disk with their yang spirit. Then, there would be 10,000 years of cultivation. The yang spirit would absorb the aura of life and the aura of nature in the world of the divine artifact, condense the divine body, and improve its cultivation. The 10,000 years mentioned here naturally referred to the time inside the divine artifact. 10,000 years was equivalent to 100 years in the outside world. In this way, all the contestants were placed at the same place. No divine weapons, pellets, or slaves could be brought into the world inside the divine weapons. Even the divine body and cultivation base had to start from scratch. The preliminaries were a competition of talent. Of course, there was no absolute fairness. First, it was the Godhead. When one was promoted to deity, the higher the quality of the Godhead that was integrated, the higher the talent would naturally be. Thus, one would have an innate advantage in the world of the divine artifact. The other thing was strength. The stronger the deity, the more powerful his yang spirit would be. Naturally, his ability to control nature and use magic would be more powerful. Therefore, those contestants with higher cultivation bases would naturally have an advantage. Naturally, the speed at which the participants who had mastered supreme cultivation methods could cultivate in the inner world of the divine artifact was incomparable to that of the other participants. As for the method of calculating the results, it could not be simpler. After all the contestants had cultivated in the world of the divine artifact for 10,000 years, the real competition would begin. The number of other contestants killed would be the number of points. This method of calculating the results was not that novel. What surprised Su Fang was that in the world of the divine artifact, killing other contestants would not only allow one to obtain a score against them, but would also allow one to obtain the energy of the opponent's divine body to continuously strengthen oneself. This also meant that the more one killed, the higher one's score would be, and the stronger one's strength would be. This rule vividly displayed the law of the jungle in the myriad of worlds. The message also mentioned something that shocked Su Fang. The cultivation base obtained in the world of the divine artifact, regardless of whether it was obtained through cultivation or by killing other contestants, could be taken out of the divine artifact and turned into one's own cultivation base. What kind of divine artifact is the universal disk? How could it have such a nature-defying ability? Amidst the shock, Su Fang's eyes flashed with a bright light. This divine child tournament was not only an opportunity to soar to the sky, but also a great opportunity to rapidly improve one's cultivation base. About 2 hours later, the divine child tournament has begun. Geniuses, Qishao Shinjun from the star field, and I will be watching your performance. Your family, elders, and everyone else is watching you. Go, fight with all your might. Fight for yourself, for your family, for your deity realm, and for your strength. Fight for a chance to soar to the sky. The majestic voice of the Star Billow God Realm's Realm Master sounded again. From the layers of array space, the roars of the contestants could be heard. Everyone's blood was boiling at this moment. The first place of the Divine Child Tournament belongs to me, by Holon. The top 100 will belong to the Star Billow God Realm. The top 10,000 will belong to the Star Billow God Realm. An incomparably domineering voice suddenly came from one of the array spaces. Although the voice was domineering, it sounded as if it was a matter of course, and no one felt that it was arrogant. Everyone's voices were suppressed, and the tide-like voices suddenly stopped. Then, arrogant voices suddenly sounded. The Star Billow God Realm is mighty, young master Bai Holon is mighty. Bai Holon, one of the top 10 young masters of the star field, was recognized as the first place of the Divine Child Tournament. He regarded the first place of the Divine Child Tournament as something in the bag, and no one felt that there was anything wrong with it. Bai Holon's strength was there, and no one could deny it. However, he thought that the top 190% of the top 10,000 would belong to the Star Billow God Realm. It was a little arrogant. The geniuses from the 8 God Realms and Forces were all very unconvinced. The Kamiko Hoshino tournament begins. The voice of the Star Billow God Realm's Realm Master reverberated, and rays of divine power descended from the array space, enveloping every contestant. Qishao Shinjun flew into the air, and with a flip of his right hand, a 1-foot square cyan disk appeared in his hand. Su Fang activated his great perfection realm power, and carefully examined the disk. He saw that there were countless mysterious heavenly marks on it. Some were naturally formed, and some were inscribed. They interweaved into pictures of stars, the sun, the moon, mountains, rivers, birds, beasts, wind, rain, lightning, and so on. It was as if everything in the world was contained in it. The disk emitted an ancient and mysterious aura, and it gave Su Fang the feeling that he was facing a part of the universe. Could this universal armillary disk be a creation divine artifact? Su Fang was shocked. Luo Zi replied from the time and space cave in his body, although Qi Shao Divine Emperor is considered an expert in the myriad heavens, he is not qualified to own a divine weapon of fate. Even if he is the master of this star area, the possibility of owning a divine weapon of fate is not very high. Su Feng asked in surprise, "What kind of divine artifact is the Universal Armillary Disc?" "It's obviously not a peak supreme grade divine artifact, nor a king grade divine artifact. The Universal Armillary Disc's embryo should have been born from the chaos after the creation of heaven and earth. However, it hasn't taken shape yet, and was refined by a powerful artifact refiner. This kind of divine artifact surpasses the king grade and is called a half-creation divine artifact. With Mo Tiangong's current level of artifact refinement, he should be able to refine a half-creation divine artifact with the embryo of a creation divine artifact. Because creation divine artifacts are extremely rare, a half-creation divine artifact is considered a supreme divine artifact in the star field. It's very extraordinary. The selection of geniuses from a major field actually brought out a divine artifact of this quality. This shows how much importance the star field attaches to the divine child competition." Luo's explanation gave Su Feng a clear understanding of the quality of divine artifacts. Buzz. Buzz. Qishao Shenjun activated the Universal Armillary Disc. A beam of green light swept out. Within the green light, countless illusory figures were constantly flickering and changing, displaying various celestial phenomena. A powerful aura almost suffocated Su Feng. Moreover, his purple Qi Dharma spirit could sense that the divine power of the Universal Armillary Disc was filled with the aura of creation of heaven and earth. A creation divine artifact was born from the creation of heaven and earth. Therefore, it possessed supreme destiny, which was something that no other divine artifact possessed. This caused the purple Qi Dharma spirit to roar wildly in his body. "Release your sun spirit and enter the divine power of the divine artifact," Qishao Shenjun shouted loudly. Swish! 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 All the participating geniuses released their sun spirit and poured into the divine power of the Universal Armillary Disc. The green light flashed slightly and was sucked into the inner world of the divine artifact. The God's Son of God battle had begun. Su Feng's sun spirit, along with the other participating geniuses, came to the mysterious and ancient space of the Universal Armillary Disc. His sun spirit was enveloped by a green Xian Guang. To sense the outside world. The divine artifact world of the Universal Armillary Disc was filled with pure natural aura of heaven and earth. It also contained abundant life aura. The laws of the world were exactly the same as those of the outside world. Su Feng activated the Heart of the Sea mental cultivation method of the Earth system. The natural aura of heaven and earth immediately seeped into the protective divine power formed by the green Xian Guang and gathered toward the sun spirit. Soon, a blurry figure condensed. With the sun spirit as the foundation, and with the natural aura of heaven and earth and the life aura of heaven and earth to condense a divine body and open up a divine dwelling, it is equivalent to reconstructing a physical body in the divine artifact space. I wonder to what extent I can raise my cultivation base within 10,000 years. Su Feng's heart was full of expectations. Chapter 1931. The internal world of the Universal Disc was very strange. There was only the sun spirit and no divine body or divine abode. The sun spirit couldn't use any god art here, but it could absorb the spirit energy of heaven and earth and form a divine body through mental cultivation. At the same time, Su Feng also used the ethereal true insight to madly devour the spiritual energy and life energy of the divine artifact world. The vague shadow of the god body gradually became real. The life aura in the world of the divine weapon combined with the natural energy. Magical changes took place, turning into flesh, bones, and veins. This experience was very strange and couldn't happen in the outside world. It could be seen how powerful the Universal Disc was. About 300 years had passed in the divine artifact world, and Su Feng with flesh and blood appeared. Then, Su Feng started to break through his meridians and open up his divine abode. The universal disk was Xian Lingzi's powerful cultivation method, but it was only in a small place like the Kuan Su divine world. It could only be considered above average in the entire star billow divine world. However, the heart of the sea allowed him to absorb a vast amount of heaven and earth Ling Qi. Combined with the ethereal true scripture, Su Fang's speed of absorbing heaven and earth Ling Qi and life Qi was 3 to 4 times faster. Compared to those geniuses who had grasped powerful cultivation techniques, he was not inferior at all. Unfortunately, he couldn't cultivate the 9 changes of the 9 suns here, but the yang energy in the divine artifact world made it impossible to cultivate the 9 changes of the 9 suns, so he could only give up. The illusory fire cloud couldn't be cultivated here either because it required a special flame to fuse with the divine essence in the body. Only by fusing the divine essence with the divine essence and fire elemental divine might could the body possess fire elemental divine might. In this void world, other than the natural energy and mysterious life energy, there were no special flames that could allow Su Fang to cultivate the illusory fire cloud. Boom! After about 500 years, Su Fang's dantian and meridians disintegrated, forming a vast and empty energy space in his body. This was the divine abode. Then, Su Fang devoured spirit energy even more crazily and turned it into divine essence after being refined by the star vortex. Boom boom boom. Su Fang's qi also rose rapidly. From a mortal at the mortal evolution state to a god, he continued to rise without any bottlenecks or divine retribution. This went on for about 2,000 years. Su Fang's cultivation rose to second firmament celestial deity, equivalent to his true strength. The improvement was still ongoing, but the speed of improvement had obviously slowed down. At most, it was only 1% of the previous speed. It was like going from a broad road to a narrow road. However, the rate of improvement was more than 10 times faster than the outside world. My cultivation base in the divine artifact world can be brought to the outside world and fused with my true body. How can I miss such an opportunity to rapidly increase my strength? Su Fang seized the time to constantly devour the natural spiritual qi of heaven and earth, striving to improve his cultivation. Although Su Fang didn't know how much this cultivation base could improve his original body after he brought it out, he naturally wouldn't let go of any opportunity to improve himself. What's more, the higher his cultivation base was, the more strength he would have in the upcoming battle. Roughly 1,000 years later, Su Fang finally broke through to peak second firmament, reaching third firmament celestial deity. A powerful feeling that he had never felt before arose spontaneously in his heart. Not only Su Fang, but in the vast space of the universal disk, millions of prodigies were all in a state of cultivation, thinking of ways to improve their strength. Outside the universal disk, Qishao Shinjun sat majestically on the floating platform. Suddenly, he flipped his hand and grabbed a rune talisman. Then, he released a divine aura, isolating the surroundings from the outside world. A surge of magic power was injected into the rune talisman, and the melted rune talisman turned into an essence spirit shadow. Lord Divine Lord, according to your instructions, I've already investigated the cultivator who fused with prehistoric inflammation. Qishao Shinjun raised his brows. Oh! This person's name is Mo Fenghua. As Su Fang's experience was narrated by his subordinate, Qishao Shinjun's eyes revealed a surprised expression. In the end, Qishao Shinjun said indifferently, "This person is not ordinary. His background is also not ordinary. He's actually a relative of the G people. But he's still an ant. Lord Divine Lord, this person's yang spirit is inside the universal disk, and his divine body is left in the formation space. I only need to use a little technique to kill this person and take away his prehistoric inflammation." Qishao Shinjun was silent for a moment, then nodded and said, "That's good." Just as he was about to wave his hand to erase the essence spirit shadow of his subordinate, that person suddenly said, I just received a message from the Region Master. I still need to report it to you. Qishao Shinjuan's expression changed instantly. Why didn't you say so earlier? Tell me. The Region Master doesn't have anything particularly urgent. He only said that Xing Wuji and Mo Tiangong appeared in the Star Billow Divine Realm not long ago. It's possible that they have chosen a prodigy from the Star Billow Divine Realm to enter the Primordial Chaos Golden Roll. Primordial Chaos Golden Roll? Emperor Qi Shao sucked in a breath of cold air with a hiss. As an upper echelon of a star region, Qi Shao Shinjun naturally knew some inside information about the Primordial Chaos Golden Roll. Then, Qi Shao Shinjun made the connection that Mo Tiangong was the Grandmaster of the Three Divine Kings, and that the Three Divine Kings had an unclear relationship with Su Fang. His heart immediately thumped. Could it be that the prodigy who was chosen by the two peerless powerhouses, Xing Wuji and Mo Tiangong, is impossible? This person is only a heavenly god. How could he enter their eyes? Qi Shao Shinjun laughed involuntarily. The prodigy who entered the Primordial Chaos Golden Roll should be Bai Holan without a doubt. It seems that I must be on good terms with the Star Billow Realm Master. Qi Shao Shinjun made up his mind. Then, he said majestically to his subordinate's essence Spirit Shadow, "Put aside the matter of the prehistoric inflammation for now. It won't be too late to make a move after Mo Fenghua is eliminated in the preliminaries. Be careful and don't let the Three Divine Kings detect any clues." Yes. The essence Spirit Shadow bowed and disappeared without a trace. Star Billow God Realm's divine capital. In the central region, inside a huge palace, the upper echelons of the Star Billow God Realm, including the Three Divine Kings, as well as the realm masters and powerhouses of various smaller realms and forces, were all gathered in the palace. Master Kuan Su and Xianlingzi were among them. Because of the Three Divine Kings, the two of them sat high up in the seats of honor. Kuan Su's overall strength was at the bottom of the Star Billow God Realm. Master Kuan Su's personal strength wasn't too strong either, but he was sitting above many powerful realm masters and powerhouses. Xianlingzi was just the supreme master of Kuan Su's divine sect. What right did he have to sit above so many experts? Everyone was very dissatisfied, but because of the face of the Three Divine Kings, they couldn't say much. They automatically ignored the two of them, and some people looked at them with disdain. At the center of the palace, there was a huge screen of light that displayed the scene in the cosmic disk after being shrunk countless times. At this time, the real battle hadn't started yet. Only countless light spots could be seen on the screen, like stars in the galaxy. They were the miniature versions of the participating geniuses. Although their faces couldn't be seen clearly, the aura of the light spots could roughly determine where the geniuses came from. Master Kuan Su and Xianlingzi caught Su Fang's aura from the millions of light spots, and paid attention to the changes of this light spot without blinking. The Three Divine Kings were the same, and there was anxiety in their eyes. It seemed that they were more anxious than Master Kuan Su and Xianlingzi. As time passed, the light spots gradually became brighter. The brighter the light spots were, the higher the strength of the participants after a period of cultivation in the divine tool. Among them, there were a few light spots that were incomparably bright, like the stars in the night sky. The brightest one was naturally Bai Holan, and most of the others were the geniuses of the Star Billow Divine Realm. Master Kuan Su and Xianlingzi sensed that the light spot of Su Fang's aura was constantly rising, and the light it emitted was getting brighter and brighter. Although it couldn't be compared to the top geniuses like Bai Holan, it was still quite extraordinary among the crowd. Kuan Su's divine sect actually has such a genius? Many experts were astonished, and the way they looked at Master Kuan Su and Xianlingzi immediately changed. There was no longer the contempt and disdain from before. However, when they learned that Su Fang's cultivation was only at the second firmament of the celestial god realm, they were all stunned, and then they couldn't help but laugh. No matter how extraordinary Su Fang's talent was, after all, his cultivation wasn't good. How strong could his son's spirit be? Cultivating in the artifact's space for 10,000 years, the height he could reach was very limited. It was impossible for him to pass the preliminaries. In the divine capital, the Kimiko Hoshino list hung high in the sky, and countless eyes were focused on the names that kept flashing on it. On a floating object outside the main realm of the Star Billow Divine Realm, a black-clothed man sat cross-legged on a mountain peak, and his eyes were fixed on the godchild list. This person wore a black iron mask, and his face couldn't be seen clearly. His cold eyes made people shudder. Behind him, 3 people stood side by side, and all of them wore the same black iron mask, and their bodies were emitting a cold, murderous aura. One of them broke the silence. "Boss, although Xia Qijuan is somewhat extraordinary, he's just a stray dog. He's not worthy of your attention, is he?" "I'm waiting for him," the Iron Mask Man said coldly, and there was a murderous aura in his tone. The 3 black-clothed men obviously knew who their boss was talking about, and couldn't help but sigh. In the internal world of the universal disk, 10,000 years have passed so quickly? Su Fang suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the green Xian Guang surrounding him. In 10,000 years, Su Fang's cultivation had reached the 7th heaven of the celestial god realm. After reaching the 2nd heaven of the celestial god realm, it became difficult to improve, mainly because he had never reached this level before. It was like moving forward in the dark night. Although Su Fang had an extraordinary cultivation method, a primal chaos rank and a mid-grade earth rank godhead, his improvement became as slow as a snail. Of course, this was relative to his improvement speed when he was below the 2nd heaven of the celestial god realm. Compared to the majority of the participating geniuses, it was simply shocking that he could reach the 7th heaven of the celestial god realm with his true cultivation. The green Xian Guang around him flickered, and the protective divine aura disappeared without a trace. The real battle was about to begin. Chapter 1932. The preliminary competition begins now. The time is 1,000 years. Slaughter to your heart's content. Qishao Xinjuan's voice was like the voice of heavenly Tao, reverberating in the divine artifact world. The divine child competition begins now. Su Fang was looking forward to it, but also somewhat nervous. Crossing swords with so many divine realm geniuses, and it concerned his own future, as well as Bai Ling's fate, how could he not be nervous? Bang! Bang! The entire divine artifact's internal world underwent an earth-shaking change. In the void space, wind, rain, thunder, and lightning suddenly appeared. All kinds of great Tao laws started operating. A scene like the creation of heaven and earth appeared before Su Fang's eyes. A boundless sky appeared above, the divine sun hanging high in the sky. Under the sky, a vast expanse of land rapidly condensed. One mountain after another rose from the ground. Forests and rivers also appeared. In a short few breaths of time, a near-real world was born. Above Su Fang's head, starlight rapidly converged. After a wave of surging and rolling, it condensed into a fist-sized star. The scattered light could be seen from 1,000 miles away. The divine body that reformed in the divine artifact world lost its great circle ability. But Su Fang already had 7th firmament celestial deity cultivation at this time. His eyesight could see everything within 1,000 miles. It was only to see one figure after another emerge from the void. They were precisely those participating geniuses. Like Su Fang, they all had a star suspended above their heads. Kill! These geniuses had just appeared and immediately charged at the people closest to them. A fierce battle unfolded in the sky above the world. Su Fang watched for a while. In a short 10 breaths of time, at least 100 contestants within 1,000 miles were killed. But it was not true death, but the destruction of their divine bodies. Their yang spirits were automatically sent out of the divine artifact world by the divine power released by the divine artifact. The scene was intense and cruel, making Su Fong tremble with fear. "Brat, are you going to let your yang spirit break free, or do you want me to kill you and send your yang spirit out by the divine artifact?" A genius charged at Su Fong, letting out a disdainful and incomparably arrogant laugh from afar. This person cultivated the great Tao of fire. The divine ability he displayed was very peculiar. The flames burning all over his body formed the silhouette of a flaming bird around him. It exuded a violent and ferocious aura, just like a divine bird of fire. This person's cultivation was sixth firmament celestial deity. After casting the divine ability, his strength immediately skyrocketed. Furthermore, the great Tao of fire's attacks were the fiercest, making his current strength sufficient to kill a peak seventh firmament celestial deity expert. Su Fong's cultivation was at the seventh celestial layer. No wonder this person dared to be so arrogant in front of Su Fong. "You are the first!" Su Fong shouted coldly in a domineering manner as he executed his movement technique, Earthen Ripple, and he relied on the powerful energy of the earth to suddenly speed up while carrying a heavy and powerful imposing aura as he charged towards that genius. "My ranking in the Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce is over 13,000. You, a nobody, want to kill me?" The genius sneered disdainfully. The divine power of flames suddenly burst out, and as the wings of the ferocious birds flapped violently, monstrous waves of fire swept out, instantly engulfing Su Fong's figure. Courting death. The genius curled his lips in disdain. However, when his fire attribute divine power dissipated, he did not see the energy and life essence of Su Fong after his divine body was killed. He could not help but look at the star above his head, but there was no change either. "What you killed was the image I left there a breath ago, idiot." Su Fong's cold voice came from behind. The genius was immediately shocked. Just as he was about to urge his movement technique to flee forward, an earth-shattering imposing aura bombarded his divine body, causing it to crumble with a loud bang. "I actually failed to obtain any results and was eliminated in the preliminaries. I am so unwilling," the genius's yang spirit cried out in unwillingness and despair. Soon after, he was swept away by a divine power and escaped into the void. It turned out that Su Fong had used the great Tao of time, using the time difference of a breath to appear behind this genius and kill him easily. The star above the genius's head drifted to the top of Su Fong's head, becoming Su Fong's preliminary result. The collapsed divine body turned into energy and life essence, automatically floating towards Su Fong and seeping into his divine body. Su Fong felt his divine dwellings begin to tremble. Boundless life energy was wildly surging. After it calmed down, whether it was his cultivation or divine body, they had both increased by a large margin. This was equivalent to 100 years of cultivation in the world of the divine artifact. What surprised Su Fong even more was that the energy essence of this genius's divine body was all fire attribute energy. "I wonder if this fire attribute essence can be used to cultivate the illusory fire cloud." A bold idea emerged in Su Fong's mind. Without hesitation, Su Fong activated his mental cultivation method. The divine power of the illusory fire cloud began to sweep through his body, and all the fire essence that had seeped into his body turned into a special burning cloud of fire through the cultivation of the illusory fire cloud. Suddenly, there was an additional divine power of fire in Su Fong's body, but it was not very strong. Then he sensed the divine abode. He saw a layer of fire clouds floating in the star vortex, and there were also marks of the way of the heavens on the star vortex, which looked very weak. It was formed by the cultivation of the illusory fire cloud. This method is indeed feasible. If I can use the illusory fire cloud in the universal disk's world, my strength will definitely increase greatly. Su Fong's spirit was greatly lifted. Then he released his sensing power and swept the ground below. He sensed that there were rich ore deposits in the mountains, and all kinds of materials for refining weapons and elixirs could be found everywhere. The contestants' young spirits can't bring divine weapons and elixirs into the world of the universal disc, but there are no restrictions. They can't refine weapons and elixirs in the world of the universal disc. Since the battle of the God's Son is a test of talent, the ability to forge weapons and refine pills is also one of the most important talents. The materials that appear in this world are not meaningless. They are specially prepared for alchemists and weapon forgers. If I'm not wrong, I should be able to refine divine weapons and elixirs here. I won't consider elixirs for now. I can directly kill other contestants to replenish my strength. The main thing is refining weapons. The cultivation of my original body is too low. No matter how hard I work, it's difficult to compare with those peerless geniuses. If I can refine divine weapons, then I can make up for this gap to the greatest extent and kill more contestants. In this way, not only can my results be improved, but my cultivation can also be improved rapidly. Su Feng's deep eyes flashed with a trace of light, and he went straight to the ground. He grabbed in the air, and a piece of ore flew out from a cliff and fell into Su Feng's hand. Then Su Feng activated the illusory fire cloud, and his divine essence ran to his palms. Red flames ignited from his palms, and slowly melted the ore. My idea is correct, but my fire divine power is still too low. It's difficult for me to refine weapons. If I want to quickly improve my fire divine power, there are two ways. One way is to find spiritual fire in the world of the universal disc, and the other way is to kill contestants who cultivate the great Tao of fire and devour the fire essence of their divine bodies. The second way is the fastest, but there are some risks. Su Feng made up his mind. Glancing at the stars above his head, Su Feng frowned. The scattered light of the stars was difficult to hide. After a moment, a stream of destiny Tao runes exploded from the depths and surface of the Yang spirit, and then spiraled up, turning into invisible divine power. It was projected in all directions with the sensing ability of a divine god. The destiny Tao runes of the divine life shrinking technique were hidden in Su Feng's divine aperture, spiritual power ocean, and Yang spirit. At this time, the Yang spirit that entered the world of the universal disc was only a part of the divine life shrinking technique. After being activated by Su Feng, the power of destiny greatly decreased, and the ability to sense the outside world also weakened. However, with the help of the sensing ability, the range of sensing was also very shocking, reaching more than 10,000 miles. The ability of the divine life shrinking technique was to hide the aura of destiny, but it was difficult to hide the stars above his head. Su Feng could only rely on the sensing ability of the divine life shrinking technique to sense the enemy and make preparations in advance. In addition, he could also use it to sense the fire spiritual objects in the world. As a result, Su Feng began to collect refining materials on the ground, looking for spiritual fire or fire spiritual objects. With the sensing ability of the divine life shrinking technique, his sensing ability had reached the level of a divine god. If he encountered a contestant who cultivated the great Tao of fire below the divine god realm, he would not hesitate to kill him and devour the essence of the 7 fire elements to cultivate the illusory fire cloud. If he encountered a real master, Su Feng would escape immediately, and the master of the divine god realm would not be able to do anything to him. In the world of the universal disc, 500 years passed unknowingly. Su Feng settled in this state of accumulation, and his results were naturally a mess. What is this kid doing? In the world of the universal disc, there was no need to worry about his life, so Xian Lingzi naturally cared about his grandson's results. Seeing that there were only a dozen more light spots around Su Feng, it proved that he had only killed a dozen geniuses. Such results, among the many geniuses, even if he was not at the bottom, he was at the bottom. Xian Lingzi couldn't help but become anxious. Most of Mo Fenghua's strength comes from the prehistoric inflammation and the divine weapon. Now that he has lost these things, no matter how talented he is, it will be difficult for him to compete with the other geniuses. his chances of passing the preliminaries are really not high. Kuan-Su sighed helplessly in his heart. Looking at the other geniuses of Kuan-Su's divine sect, there were many who had better results than Su Fang, but most of them paled in comparison. Kuan-Su couldn't help but be disappointed. This time, Kuan-Su's divine sect would probably return empty-handed. Senior Mo is the reincarnation of a peerless grand cultivator. He is unfathomable. How can the preliminaries of the Kimiko Hoshino tournament be difficult for him? Senior must be disdainful to compete with the other geniuses at the beginning and wait until the last moment to explode. At that time, he will definitely amaze the world. The three divine kings took it for granted and smiled faintly, not showing any disappointment. Chapter 1933. The Kimiko Hoshino ranking also started to display the rankings of the participating geniuses and gradually stabilized. By Holan. The first name was by Holan. This name shone brightly on the god's sun ranking like a blazing sun, causing all the other names on the god's sun ranking to pale in comparison. Behind by Holan's name was a string of numbers that reached more than 200,000. The geniuses ranked below by Holan only had slightly more than 10,000. This was by Holan, one of the 10 great young masters of the star field. Such speed and strength were truly shocking. The top 100 of the god's sun ranking were all occupied by the geniuses of the star below God realm. The strength of the star below God realm was on full display at this moment. In the sky above Hidden Soul Island, Ling Xiangmei, the yellow-browed great elder and the other higher-ups opened their eyes wide as they searched for the names of the Kuan-Su divine sect disciples, especially Mo Fenghua's name. Mo Fenghua is there. 9,763,623. Everyone's eyes were bloodshot. In the end, they finally found Mo Fenghua's name in the sea of names. A ranking of more than 9,700,000, and it was still falling, causing Ling Xiangmei and the others to be extremely disappointed. This kind of result couldn't even be considered ordinary. However, Lan Gaoyang and the other special disciples performed well. A total of 3 of them entered the top 10,000. However, only half the time of the preliminaries had passed. In the following time, the competition would be even more brutal, and the situation was still not optimistic. The yellow-browed great elder said in a strange tone, Mo Fenghua is only relying on the power of the 3 great masters to show off in the Kuan-Su divine sect. When it comes to the real competition, her true colors are revealed. Great elder, there's still half the time left. It's too early to make a conclusion now. Ling Xiangmei was very depressed. Star below God realm, above the material outside the main realm. The cold iron-masked man's cold eyes searched the god's sun ranking continuously. This kid Xia Qijuan is indeed somewhat extraordinary. He actually made it to the top 5,000. Amazing, this kid has a bright future. However, this kid's ambition is not small, we must be careful of him. So what if he's strong? Isn't he still boss's slave and obedient in front of us 3 brothers? We are the famous Solus who has dominated the Brahma Heaven God realm, Star below God realm, and more than a dozen other great realms. How big of a wave can this kid Xia Qijuan stir up? As it turned out, they were members of the assassin organization, Solus, that had rapidly risen to prominence in the Brahma Heaven God realm, the Star below God realm, and the surrounding God realms in the past 100,000 years. Solus. They were mysterious and powerful, ruthless and strange. They had never failed, and even had the shocking achievement of successfully assassinating the realm lord of a small world. What was even more frightening was that most of the targets that Solus assassinated were the people that they trusted the most, or even their own family members. Some of the targets, on the other hand, were killed uncannily under the protection of multiple barriers and experts. They did not even see the shadow of the assassins. As for Solus' assassins, very few people had seen their true faces. They only knew that Solus' boss was extremely powerful and had strange divine abilities. There were even rumors that he was actually the master of a great realm. Who would have thought that Xia Qijuan would join Solus after being expelled from Kuan Su divine sect? The iron-masked man in black robes searched the Kamiko Hoshino ranking for a long time, but did not find the person he was looking for. A trace of disappointment appeared in his cold eyes. Standing up from the ground, the iron-masked man said indifferently, "There is no point in staying here any longer, let's go. How should we deal with Xia Qijuan? The three of you stay here. If he can enter the top 1,000 of the Kamiko Hoshino competition, just agree to his request last time." After he finished speaking, the iron-masked man's black robes flashed with a layer of black Xian Guang, and he quickly disappeared into nothingness. Kuan Su Divine Sect's secret realm. In the depths of the luxurious palace where Sir God Qi Shao lived, a He Yao who was shackled in a cage was looking outside helplessly and hopelessly from the other side of the cage. A few Star Below God Realm cultivators in charge of guarding the big goblin were discussing the grand occasion of the Godchild competition. The one they were discussing the most was naturally Bai Holan. If brother ascends to the God Realm, he will definitely participate in the Godchild competition. Compared to brother, Bai Holan of the Star Below God Realm is nothing. He Yao's eyes were filled with pride. This He Yao was Bai Ling. From Bai Holan, Bai Ling thought of the scene when he first met Su Fang. At that time, she was seriously injured and on the verge of death, and it was Su Fang who saved her. However, when he thought of his current situation, Bai Ling's eyes dimmed again. Inside the Universal Universe Disc, a bloody and cruel battle was playing out in the Dharma Treasures world. After 500 years of fighting, there were only 2 million geniuses left in the Dharma Treasures world. The cruelty of the God-Child competition's preliminaries was evident. An even crueler competition was still to come. In the Dharma Treasures world, even if one could survive until the end, it was meaningless without any results. Next, every contestant would madly kill for the sake of a result in the preliminaries, and the competition would be even more tragic. On the ground, in the deepest part of a deep valley between two tall mountains, Su Fang sat cross-legged in a cave, his palms in the form of burning fire clouds. The shocking power of the flames made the originally cold and damp cave extremely hot. The rocks were burned red, and the rocks within 30 meters of him were even melted by the terrifying heat. In Su Fang's hands, a 1-foot-long Dharma treasure was condensing into the Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth in the shape of a flying knife. Before this, Su Fang had killed more than a dozen geniuses who cultivated the great Tao of fire, swallowed the fire essence of their divine bodies, and cultivated the illusory fire cloud. In addition, Su Fang had collected many spirit fires and fire-type spiritual items in the Dharma Treasures world, and finally cultivated his hands to the form of fire clouds. He could forge without a cauldron at all. Su Fang had never forged a divine artifact before, but he had comprehended the great Tao of forging of the Celestial Treasure Emperor. He treated his own body as a divine artifact, and he was a peerless divine artifact himself. His level in forging was enough to guide a master of forging like Mo Tiangong. Su Fang did not want to waste too much time on forging, so he only forged a low-grade divine artifact, and it was the simplest and most practical flying knife. As a result, his chances of success were extremely high. In addition, it was much easier to forge a divine artifact in the Dharma Treasure world of the Universal Armillary Disc compared to the outside world, and the time it took was much shorter as well. Clearly, the rules of the Dharma Treasure world were biased towards the forging master. After more than a dozen failures, Su Fang was about to succeed in forging the first divine artifact in his life. Su Fang activated the illusory fire cloud, and the Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth in the form of a flying knife burned wildly. Then, Su Fang formed a series of hand seals. It was the 3 divine kings' blazing star refining art. Last time, when he was guiding the 3 divine kings in forging, Su Fang saw that the hand seals were quite extraordinary, so he directly asked the 3 divine kings for a copy. At the same time, Su Fang also formed a formation, which turned into seals that merged into the Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth. As the flames burned wildly, the Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth in the form of a flying knife was completely stabilized, and it emitted astonishing sparks. Chi! Su Fang's eyes were filled with joy. With a thunderous shout, he took out a jade bottle that he had prepared beforehand, and poured all the spiritual water in it onto the flying knife. Chi chi chi! White smoke filled the air, and faint great pregnant purple chi drifted out. When everything dissipated, a flying knife emitting sharp light floated in front of Su Fang. I've finally forged a divine artifact. Although it's only a low-grade divine artifact, I'm going to use this flying knife to display Su Fang's sharpness in the preliminaries of the Kimiko Hoshino tournament. Su Fang activated the flying knife. A cold light shot out and nimbly circled around a stone pillar that was as thick as a water bucket. The rock that was as hard as iron was cut through like tofu by the sharp knife light, and it collapsed with a loud bang. Although this flying knife was only a low-grade divine artifact and didn't have any special power, it was extremely sharp and nimble. With this divine artifact, Su Fang's strength had increased significantly. If combined with other divine abilities, Su Fang was confident that he could kill an elder who had surpassed the celestial realm. Moreover, Su Fang wasn't satisfied with this one flying knife. He was going to wait until the illusory fire cloud reached a new height before forging 18 flying knives to form a knife formation. By then, its power wouldn't be weaker than a middle-grade divine artifact. It's time to improve my results and my cultivation. Su Fang put away the flying knife divine artifact and walked out of the cave. With a burst of divine telekinesis, he activated the flaming cloud wings with the illusory fire cloud's heart sutra and flew up into the sky with Su Fang, leaving behind a trail of light that resembled a flaming cloud. Su Fang didn't need to deliberately search for his target. The moment he appeared in the valley, the brilliance released by the dozen stars above his head immediately attracted the participants who were searching for their target. They all rushed over. More than a dozen geniuses swept through the sky at an astonishing speed like a tornado and arrived in front of Su Fang in an instant. Mo Fenghua, it's actually you. Among the dozen geniuses who rushed over, one of them was actually Su Fang's acquaintance. It was the young master of the Huifeng Divine World, Yi Yangkong. In the Sui Yu Cave of the Chaos Ruins, Su Fang killed the Huifeng Divine World's genius, Yi Yang. Yi Yangkong had no choice but to swallow his anger because he was afraid of the terrifying power of the prehistoric inflammation. At that time, he had once declared that he would challenge Su Fang in the Divine Child competition. Who would have thought that they would really meet here? It was truly a small world. Currently, Yi Yangkong's cultivation was still at the peak of the 9th heaven of the celestial god realm. The cultivation he saw now was the result of 10,000 years of cultivation in the artifact world. It wasn't his true strength. More than 80,000 years had passed in the outside world when Su Fang was trapped in the Great Vicissitudes formation. During this period of time, Yi Yangkong's strength must have increased by quite a bit. It was possible that he had already broken through to the celestial realm. Mo Fenghua, not only will I destroy your divine body and steal your results, I will also kill your Yang god to avenge Yi Yang. Chapter 1934. In the inner world of the universal disk, the divine body was formed by the natural aura of heaven and earth and the aura of life. Even if the divine body was killed, the divine body would not be affected at all. -8 Reading Book. Oh? Once the sun spirit was destroyed, it meant death. Although the rules of the preliminaries did not forbid the contestants from killing the sun spirits of other contestants, very few people would kill the sun spirits of other contestants except for those who were bloodthirsty. Yi Yangkong wanted to kill Su Fang's sun spirit. It was obvious that he wanted to kill him. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Yangkong's figure flashed out. His figure was in accordance with the law of the Great Path. He was like a breeze. Not only was he swift, but he was also erratic. It was difficult to capture his figure. The other geniuses from the Wind Divine realm did not intend to make a move. Instead, they spread out and surrounded Su Fong to prevent Su Fong from escaping. At the same time, they were also on guard against the other contestants who were rushing over from all directions. In their opinion, Yi Yangkong alone was enough to crush Su Fong. There was no need for the others to interfere. Su Fong used the fire cloud wings and the fire cloud steps at the same time. He fought with Yi Yangkong for more than 10 breaths, but he still could not get rid of him. After using the illusory fire cloud, Su Fong's speed was fast and nimble. However, Yi Yangkong cultivated the great path of wind, which was known for its speed. Compared to him, Su Fong could not catch up. Mo Fenghua, go to hell! Hand of deep wind! Yi Yangkong grinned viciously and grabbed Su Fong in the air with his right hand. Ching, 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 ching. It was as if there was a huge wind cave in his hand. It produced a sharp and terrifying wind sound and released a shocking suction force, causing the surrounding space to distort. Su Fong's figure flew uncontrollably toward Yi Yangkong. He was about to fall into Yi Yangkong's hand. It's you who deserves to die. Su Fong suddenly sneered. He opened his mouth and spat out a beam of cold light toward Yi Yangkong's head. A divine weapon? All pills and divine artifacts cannot be brought into the artifact world. How can you have a divine artifact? Yi Yangkong's divine light changed instantly. His eyes were filled with disbelief. As expected of the young master of the Huifeng divine realm. At the critical moment, he opened his mouth and spat out a wind blade, trying to shake off Su Fong's flying blade. Who would have thought that just as the wind blade was released, puff, Yi Yangkong felt a sharp pain in between his eyebrows. His divine body's defense was broken and the sharp blade light pierced through his head. Yi Yangkong stared at the flying blade's afterimage in front of him and said in disbelief, "The passage of time ability. Why, you're the one who stole the primeval Dao fruit in the primeval ruins." Before he could finish, Yi Yangkong's divine body started to crumble, turning into energy and life essence. His young immortal broke out of his shell and was automatically sent out of the world of the magic treasure by the universal disk's divine might. With the power of Su Fong's primordial spirit and the strange and powerful primordial spirit magic of Night Demon, it was not difficult to kill Yi Yangkong's young spirit. However, he did not do so. It was not that he did not want to, but that he did not want to exhaust the power of his primordial spirit. His goal was to obtain a higher result, not to kill. Swish, swish, swish. More than a dozen geniuses from the Huifeng divine realm had yet to recover from the shock of Yi Yangkong's death. Su Fong activated the divine weapon and used the passage of time great Dao ability at the same time. A mysterious power of time lingered on the flying blade. Under the divine might of the time power, the flying blade that the geniuses from the Huifeng divine realm saw was an instant ago. By the time they cast their divine arts to defend themselves, the flying daggers had already reached them in the blink of an eye, piercing through their heads or hearts. Puff, puff. In less than 10 breaths, a total of 15 geniuses from the Huifeng divine realm were killed by Su Fong. A low-grade divine weapon was nothing in the divine realm. Now, in the world of the magic treasure, its power was terrifying when combined with the passage of time. Su Fong was like a killing god. More than a dozen heavenly celestial experts were easily killed by him. Some of the participants who had heard the news wanted to take advantage of the situation, but when they saw this scene, they were so frightened that they turned around and left. The divine bodies of the geniuses from the Huifeng divine realm collapsed, turning into pure energy and life energy. They rushed toward Su Fong, creating a small whirlwind. Su Fong felt his divine body becoming stronger rapidly. His cultivation was also rising at a terrifying speed. He broke through the shackles of the peak of the 7th heavenly celestial realm and ascended to the 8th heavenly celestial realm. He only stopped when he was only one step away from the 9th heavenly celestial realm. Killing the participants and using their divine bodies to increase my cultivation speed. My cultivation speed is astonishing. Su Fang was shocked. The speed of his cultivation speed was simply too shocking. It made him feel terrified. If this kind of cultivation speed existed in the outside world, he would be scared to death. The stars above the geniuses from the Huifeng divine realm, including the stars they obtained from killing the other participants, all moved toward Su Fang's head. There were more than 500 stars gathered above Su Fang's head. It was like a small galaxy. Looking at the many participants who were rushing over from all directions, Su Fang's eyes flashed with a sharp, cold light. He activated his fire cloud wings and flew toward the place with the most people. It was like a cloud of fire sweeping across the sky. Chi chi chi. The speed of the fire cloud wings, the agility of the fire cloud steps, and the flying dagger divine weapon with the power of time, Su Fang was like a wolf in a flock of sheep. He unleashed a crazy massacre. Su Fang's strength was increasing crazily. The stars above his head became denser. His results in the preliminaries also soared at a terrifying speed. In the palace of the divine capital, Xian Lingzi saw Su Fang's light spot colliding with other light spots. Then, it quickly swallowed the surrounding light spots and bloomed with resplendent light. Xian Lingzi's hand shook violently. A strand of white beard was forcibly pulled off by him. However, he did not notice it at all. He stared at the light screen dumbfoundedly. Master Kuan Su was shocked and pleasantly surprised. The three divine kings secretly said, "Senior is finally showing his power." The experts from the other divine realms were attracted. Some were surprised and most were disdainful. In their opinion, Mo Fenghua's cultivation was only at the second firmament of the heavenly god realm. How big of a wave could he stir up in the universe disk world? The explosion at this time was just a flash in the pan. On the Kimiko Hoshino list in the sky above the divine capital, Su Fang's ranking also underwent a shocking change. At this time, more than half of the preliminaries had passed. The rankings on the divine sun list were basically fixed. Moreover, Su Fang's results changed too quickly. It was impossible not to attract people's attention. Mo Fenghua's name rapidly rose from the bottom of the divine sun list. More than 2 million. After quickly breaking through the 1 million mark, it did not stop climbing. 500,000, 300,000. Just as Mo Fenghua's name appeared on the divine sun list, it immediately disappeared and appeared at a higher position. Looking from below, it was like a bolt of lightning, rapidly snaking up the divine sun list. On Hidden Soul Island, the many higher-ups of Kuan Su's divine sect were all shocked and immediately fell into ecstasy. I knew it. Fenghua is definitely not a fish in a pond. First Elder, what I said before wasn't wrong, right? The most excited was none other than Ling Xiangmei. Every time Su Fang's ranking changed, it would cause her to cry out in surprise. The yellow-browed First Elder's expression was very awkward, but he had no choice but to put on a smiling face. At the same time, he was also thinking of ways to resolve some of the grudges between him and Xianlingzi. Weapon Refinement Master, Time Divine Ability, Fire Divine Ability, Earth Divine Ability. Mo Fenghua actually grasped so many powerful techniques. This child is very extraordinary. If he wants to obtain the primordial earth flame, I'm afraid that it will take some effort. The huge change in Su Fang's ranking also attracted Qishao Shinjuan's attention. Borrowing the power of the universal disc, he was able to clearly see everything that happened in the world of the universal disc. Seeing the various powerful methods Su Fang displayed, Qishao Shinjuan's eyebrows furrowed, and his deep eyes revealed astonishment. The Star Below God Realm's Realm Master also noticed Su Fang and immediately sent people to investigate Su Fang's background, paying special attention. Mo Fenghua? Why is this name so familiar? A black-robed person from the assassin organization Soulless looked at the Kimiko Hoshino list and said in astonishment. Another person said, Xia Qijuan previously pleaded with the boss to send experts to help him kill an enemy. His name is Mo Fenghua. Someone who can be hated by Xia Qijuan is obviously not an ordinary person. Third brother, go and investigate this person's background. Who knows, he might be the target of Soulless in the future. Under the attention of countless people, Mo Fenghua's name finally stopped at around the 9,000th place and didn't change much. Being in the 9,000th place meant that he had the qualifications to pass the preliminaries. However, in the body competition where so many geniuses gathered, this ranking was nothing. Moreover, the preliminaries hadn't ended yet. No one could predict the final result. Thus, people gradually lost interest in Su Fang. On the Divine Sun list, Bai Holan's name was still on it. However, what was different from before was that Bai Holan encountered a huge challenge. A contestant by the name of Song Jie came from an unknown divine realm. Like a dark horse that had appeared out of nowhere, he quickly made his way to second place. Moreover, he closed the gap with Bai Holan at an astonishing speed and left the other participants far behind. Song Jie's appearance not only alarmed the star below God realm, but also Qishao Shinjun. Fu. 9 truths 9 suns. After 100 years of crazy killing, Su Fang once again entered a state of hibernation. He went deep into a cave in the depths of the earth and entered a state of cultivation. In the blink of an eye, 200 years had passed. There were less than 200 years left until the end of the preliminaries. Su Fang, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, suddenly opened his eyes. A majestic aura swept out from his body. The entire cave, even the mountain range and the earth were affected by Su Fang's aura. As if resonating, the whole place shook with a loud bang. Su Fang's current aura was not only majestic, it also carried the aura of the great Tao of earth. His current cultivation was no longer at the heavenly God realm, but the heavenly God realm. Chapter 1935. True gods cultivated their divine bodies, divine dwellings, and condensed divine vitality. Divine realm deities communicated with nature through yang spirit and dharma power. Their divine dwellings were more vast and profound, and their divine vitality was stronger. They could also activate the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, and display the power of nature. Divine Emperor Realm was a deeper level of contact with the origin of the way of heaven. They understood the principle of great ways, and their ability to control nature was stronger. At the peak of the Divine Emperor Realm, they could control a divine world, like the Emperor of the Divine World. The Divine Emperor Realm was also divided into 9 levels. Those below the 3rd level were usually called Lower Divine Emperors. Ling Xiangmei and other elders of Kuan Su's holy clan were at this level. Those from the 4th level to the 6th level were called Middle Divine Emperors. Xianlingzi, the leader of Kuan Su's holy clan, was a Middle Divine Emperor. Those above the 7th level were called Upper Divine Emperors. Elder Huang Mei was a Upper Divine Emperor at the 8th level, while Master Kuan Su was at the peak of the 9th level. He was relatively weak among the Masters of Small World. In the Universal Discs world, Su Fang killed a large number of participants and devoured their bodies. His cultivation base continued to rise, and he finally broke through the shackles of the heavenly deity realm and stepped into the deity emperor realm. Of course, when he left the universal disc, he would definitely fall back to the divine God realm. Even if he could bring his cultivation out, it would be impossible for him to reach the divine emperor realm. But this breakthrough also brought great benefits to Su Fang. Whether it was in the small world, the big world, or the heavens and earth, a practitioner's cultivation was the process of constantly communicating, understanding, and controlling the universe. Su Fang stepped into the divine emperor realm, which meant that his understanding of the universe had reached a new level. It was a sublimation and transformation from the appearance of nature to the essence. Although he couldn't bring his cultivation out of the divine emperor realm, reaching a higher level in advance would be of great benefit to Su Fang's future cultivation and the improvement of his current strength. Chaotic formless seal. Su Fang suddenly formed a seal. The ground under his feet burst out a majestic and chaotic gravitational force. The gravitational field in the space became extremely heavy in some places, while other places released a powerful repulsive force, making it extremely chaotic. Boom! Boom! Under the power of the chaotic gravity and repulsive force, some caves and rocks were shattered by the gravity, while some rocks were shot out like cannonballs by the repulsive force. After the earth quaked and the mountains swayed, the entire mountain collapsed. Su Fang flew out from the collapsed rock. After entering the divine emperor realm, Su Fang's chaotic earth seal was 10,000 times stronger than when he was in the true immortal realm and 100 times stronger than when he was in the divine emperor realm. Because Su Fang had firmly grasped the laws of gravity of the Earth Grand Tao. The strength of cosmic laws was the ability to control nature. Only those who had mastered cosmic laws could become emperors. That was the strength of the divine emperor layer. In the universal disk, one could continuously improve their cultivation by cultivating or killing competitors. This was the accumulation of energy. However, the comprehension of cosmic laws was the cultivation of Grand Tao. No matter how magical the universal disk was, it could not allow a god to improve his mastery of cosmic laws in a short time. Therefore, in the world of the magic treasure, it was possible to improve one's cultivation from the divine god realm to the divine emperor realm, but it was impossible to improve one's mastery of cosmic laws to the divine emperor realm. Su Fang was undoubtedly a heretic. That was because he had a chaotic divine spark. A chaotic divine spark contained any Grand Tao in the world. Whether it was the Grand Tao of the 5 elements, the Grand Tao of swords, sabers, space, time, and many other Grand Taos, it could be said to be all-inclusive. Merging with the chaotic divine spark allowed Su Fang to communicate with the chaotic power, control all the forces born from the chaotic power, and comprehend all the Grand Tao laws. In the universal disk, as his cultivation increased, Su Fang's cultivation of nature also increased. It was natural for him to comprehend a kind of cosmic law of the Earth Grand Tao. This was talent and also a kind of fate. It was hard not to be convinced. After 200 years of hibernation, Su Fang's harvest was not only this. He activated the illusory fire cloud. His arms and upper body turned into a burning cloud of fire. The divine flame might covered an area of 100 miles, forming an astonishing flame domain. However, compared to the great world, the current state of the illusory fire cloud was only a small success. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. 18 flying daggers circled around Su Fang, forming a formation. Wherever the sharp daggers swept, faint scratches were left in the void. There are less than 200 years left. It's time to reap the final result. Next, let's kill to our heart's content. As the flaming cloud wings flapped, Su Fang swept across 10,000 miles in an instant. The strength of the divine emperor realm was so powerful. As the end of the preliminaries approached, the number of contestants decreased. It was not easy to find a target. However, for Su Fang, it was not difficult at all. Activating the sensing ability of a divine emperor realm deity, coupled with the divine life shrinking technique, he easily captured the position of other contestants. Then, a bloody massacre began. Geniuses fell in Su Fang's dagger formation one after another. Their divine bodies became the nutrients for Su Fang to increase his cultivation. The stars above their heads became Su Fang's results. Su Fang's ranking on the Kimiko Hoshino list was also rising at an astonishing speed. In the next 10 years, Su Fang's ranking rose from over 9,000 to over 5,000. Then, he rushed all the way into the top 1,000 in an unstoppable manner. He showed no signs of stopping. Madness, Su Fang's ranking was rising crazily. Kuan Su's divine sect in the sky above Hidden Soul Island was also in a frenzy. Outside the universal celestial disk, Qishao Shinjuan's eyes flashed with shock. He separated his consciousness and entered the divine artifact world to pay attention to Su Fang's every move. Not only did he advance to the divine emperor realm, but he also mastered an earth-great Tao law. His divine flame aura and divine artifact are all extraordinary. How is this possible? His divine spark is only mid-grade earth rank. How can he master a law at the heavenly god realm? Moreover, his divine spark is of the earth element. How can he master such powerful divine flame aura and time great Tao ability? Can prehistoric inflammation change one's divine spark? Mo Fenghua obviously learned refining from the three divine kings. However, how many years has he been refining? How can he refine a low-grade divine artifact? This child's talent is almost on par with Bai Holan and Song Jie. If it wasn't for his low cultivation, he might even surpass those two geniuses. Qishao Shinjun was shocked. At the same time, he frowned. It would be very difficult to snatch prehistoric inflammation from Su Fang. In the past, Qishao Shinjun didn't make a move on Su Fang because he was apprehensive about the three divine kings. Now it was all because of Su Fang. With the strength he had shown, it should not be difficult for him to make it into the top 100 in the finals and become the god of Star Billow. Once he became a divine son, it would attract the attention of the upper echelons of the stellar field if they wanted to touch him. It would bring a lot of trouble. Could this child be the peerless genius that Xing Wuji and Mo Tiangong put on the primordial chaos golden roll? Qishao Shinjun couldn't help but have some doubts. However, he quickly dispelled the idea. Although Su Fang's talent was extraordinary, it was far from enough to enter the primordial chaos golden roll. It seems that I have to think of a way to snatch prehistoric inflammation in the finals. Qishao Shinjun calculated in his mind. Not only Qishao Shinjun, but the Star Billow Realm Lord was also very surprised. He immediately sent someone to find Master Kuan Su and ask about Su Fang's background. After learning that Su Fang had transformed from a disdainful good-for-nothing to his current state, the Star Billow Realm Lord was very surprised. In the end, he couldn't help but sigh. Extraordinary people often have extraordinary pasts. What especially shocked the Star Billow Realm Lord was that Su Fang could actually survive the conflict between the Ji people and the Sanskrit. Even Master Kuan Su wasn't very clear about the inside story. This made the Star Billow Realm Lord feel that Su Fang's background was somewhat mysterious. Then, the Star Billow Realm Lord asked Master Kuan Su to give Xianlingzi a supreme-grade divine weapon as a reward. Although the reward wasn't heavy, it came from the hands of the Star Billow Realm's supreme ruler. This made Xianlingzi so excited that his mouth almost split open to his ears. His entire person floated, as if he was flying into the clouds. The realm lords and big shots from other small realms and forces looked at Xianlingzi with jealousy and envy. Some people took the initiative to come forward and befriend Xianlingzi and Master Kuan Su. This made Master Kuan Su feel very proud and elated. Xianlingzi, on the other hand, became even more complacent. Mo Fenghua! Mo Fenghua, that killing maniac is here. Let's go. In the inner world of the universal disk, Su Fang's reputation quickly spread among the participants. His fame was great, but he couldn't be compared to Bai Holan and Song Jie. Bai Holan's position as the number one expert was unshakable, and Song Jie was even more infamous. Not only was he powerful, he was also madly bloodthirsty. The participants that were killed by him didn't just have a divine body, even their sun spirit couldn't escape. Chapter 1936. Song Jie. He looked to be in his early 20s and looked very ordinary. He was dressed in black and had a pair of deep eyes that seemed to be able to absorb heaven and earth. His aura was particularly strange. It was as if there was a huge black hole hidden in his body that was constantly absorbing the natural spiritual chi of heaven and earth. Even the surrounding light was absorbed by him, making his aura very ethereal. At the same time, there was a terrifying destructive aura on his body that gave Su Fang an extremely dangerous feeling. It was as if this person was a peerless ferocious beast. His cultivation shocked Su Fang even more. He was at the peak of the third heaven of the Divine Emperor realm, only one step away from the middle-level Divine Emperor realm. An expert. This person is a real expert, even more terrifying than Ling Xiangmei. I didn't expect such a terrifying person to appear in the Divine Sun competition. However, the more powerful a real expert is, the more I can sharpen my strength. Su Fang's heart was burning with a desire to fight, and his blood began to boil. Song Jie looked at Su Fang and suddenly grinned, like a ferocious beast that suddenly opened its mouth and bared its fangs. Do you want to surrender yourself, or do you want me to do it myself? Su Fang showed a sarcastic smile. Is there a difference between the two? Yes, there is indeed no difference. Whether you surrender yourself or I do it myself, there is only one result for you: death. Not only the divine body that you condensed in the universal disk, but also your son's spirit will be killed by me. Song Jie was startled, and then he smiled. There was a crazed look in his eyes, as if killing was something that could bring him great pleasure. This person is a bloodthirsty pervert. Su Fang made a judgment in his heart and became more vigilant. Go to hell. Song Jie bellowed coldly with a murderous intent. He suddenly opened his mouth, and strands of black light revolved in his mouth. They were filled with the terrifying aura of the laws of the way that could devour everything. They released a shocking devouring force. Su Fang's robe did not move at all, but his strength was rapidly being devoured by the black vortex in Song Jie's mouth. At this time, Song Jie was like a monster that opened its bloody mouth and wanted to devour Su Fang's strength completely. What a terrifying Great Way law! Su Fang was extremely shocked, and he did not hesitate to activate the Flying Dagger divine weapon. The 18 flying daggers released a sharp blade light that slashed at Song Jie. At the same time, Su Fang also activated the illusory fire cloud, the Eye of Heaven incinerating. His eyes turned into a pair of blazing eyes that shot out blazing flames. The moment the flames ignited, a shocking flame divine might enveloped Song Jie. Of the divine weapon. Su Fang was shocked. It was the first time he had seen such a powerful and strange divine ability. Chaotic Formless Seal. Su Fang struck out a dazzling hand seal, and the power of the chaotic formless seal exploded. The terrifying gravity and repulsion intertwined, forming a chaotic gravity field. Puff, puff. Su Fang had comprehended the gravity law of the Great Way of Earth. Although the chaotic formless seal he used was not as powerful as Xianlingzi's, it was at least 70 to 80% of the chaotic formless seal's power. Under the power of the chaotic formless seal, Song Jie's divine body was broken everywhere. Blood spurted out and his body swayed, unable to maintain flight. Boom! Song Jie opened his mouth and spat out the black Xian Guang. It swept out like a wave, carrying a shocking destructive aura. Everywhere it went, the chaotic gravity field instantly shattered. This Song Jie's divine power was powerful and strange. It actually swallowed Su Fang's power and divine power, and then released it. This divine power was very similar to Su Fang's reincarnation divine power. The difference was that Su Fang's reincarnation divine power reflected the enemy's attack, while Song Jie's divine power swallowed, and then transformed into a powerful destructive power. Swallowing and destroying, these were the great ways that Song Jie cultivated, the way of swallowing and destroying. Reincarnation divine power? Something's not right. Underworld reincarnation technique. 4 seasons reincarnation seal. Su Fang's divine light changed instantly. He could not dodge in time. The moment his divine body was swept by the black Xian Guang, his divine consciousness exploded, and the underworld reincarnation technique was activated. A surge of reincarnation divine power was released, like a surging river, colliding with Song Jie's destructive divine power. Boom, 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 boom. Su Fang was sent flying thousands of feet away as if he was hit by a stormy sea. The black Xian Guang on his body sizzled and corroded his divine body and power. Su Fang urged all his power to wear down the terrifying destructive power of the black Xian Guang. When the black Xian Guang was completely worn down, his divine body was also full of wounds. Some parts of his body had no flesh, and his white bones could be seen. Previously, Su Fang was hunted down, and he had consumed a lot of energy. His injuries were not healed yet. Now that he was attacked by Song Jie again, he was in a heavily injured state. Looking at Song Jie, Su Fang was stunned for a moment. Then, he was pleasantly surprised. Song Jie was also affected by Su Fang's reincarnation divine power. A layer of blood qi gushed out from his body, forming a layer of blood mist. A layer of skin and flesh on the surface of his divine body collapsed. Using the underworld reincarnation technique in the deity emperor realm can directly swallow the blood qi of a true god. Su Fang was shocked. Mo Fenghua, you've mastered an evil divine ability. Song Jie was also shocked. In that moment, he felt like his divine body was about to shatter. He hurriedly sucked the blood qi that came out of his body back into his body. However, his face had obviously turned paler, and his aura had also weakened. It was obvious that he had lost a lot of blood qi. Su Fang was about to step forward and continue fighting Song Jie when the divine light suddenly changed. Song Jie, you were actually injured by an ant. You really disappoint this young master. A figure escaped from the void and looked at Song Jie. There was a hint of disappointment in his voice. This person was about 25 or 26 years old. He was tall and handsome, and he had a pair of sea blue eyes. His aura was empty, but it also gave people a feeling of boundless vastness. What was even more shocking was that this person's cultivation had reached the fourth heaven of the deity emperor realm. He was actually a middle deity emperor. Song Jie raised his eyebrows, and his eyes turned serious. Bai Holan. Hearing this name, Su Fang was also shocked. That was because this name was just too famous in the Star Below God realm. Song Jie no longer paid any attention to Su Fang. He looked at Bai Holan, and his eyes burned with a murderous and cruel intent. Bai Holan, fight me! I will use your life to complete my great Tao of devouring and destruction, and fulfill my reputation. Kill this young master? You're not worthy. I originally thought that you were an expert worthy of this young master, but I didn't expect that you couldn't even deal with an ant. Instead, you were injured by him. At most, you're only qualified to fight this young master. Bai Holan shook his head. His tone was full of disdain, and he was very disappointed in Song Jie. As for Su Fang, he didn't even have the qualifications to be looked at. Whether it's Song Jie or Bai Holan, neither of them are people that I can fight against right now. Let's go. Su Fang knew that the gap between him and the two was too big, and he was currently seriously injured. He activated his fire cloud wings without hesitation and flew into the distance. Did this young master allow you to leave? Bai Holan struck out with a seal, and then a wave of the rumbling of surging waves could be heard as a strand of divine might descended with a bang and enveloped an area of 5 kilometers around Su Fang. Su Fang felt as if he was within a surging tide, whereas he was a small boat that was drifting along with the waves. The vast waves swept over and struck him layer after layer, wave after wave, and it was endless, and it wouldn't stop until it shattered and devoured him. What a domineering Bai Holan! I, Su Fang, will remember the enmity of today. Sun and Moon Shuttle, Arrow of Time. Su Fang roared furiously in his heart as he executed the grand Tao of Time divine ability. Arrow of time. The energy of time transformed into black and white yin and yang qi that condensed into the arrow of time, and it emitted the mysterious and extremely shocking divine might of time and space obliteration. Under the divine might of time, the sea could dry up, and the heavens and the earth couldn't be eternal. Even though Bai Holan's divine ability was extremely formidable, it was unable to resist the passage of time. The arrow of time tore open a large hole in the surrounding shackles, and Su Fang seized this opportunity to escape the area covered by Bai Holan's divine might. After executing the arrow of time, Su Fang's appearance turned into the appearance of a 14 or 15-year-old. It seemed to have changed little, yet he'd actually lost a great deal of vitality, and it was no different than adding insult to injury to his heavily injured state. Su Fang couldn't be bothered to pay attention to his injuries as he utilized the illusory fire cloud with all his strength, and it was like a flaming light that flashed through the sky and was 5,000 kilometers away in the blink of an eye. Bai Holan, didn't you mock Mo Fenghua as an ant? Why is it that a dignified one of the 10 great young masters of the Starfield can't even do anything to an ant? Song Jie seized the opportunity to mock and ridicule. I never expected that this young master actually misjudged. This ant actually possesses such a formidable grand Tao of time divine ability. Bai Holan revealed a surprised expression, and then he smiled indifferently and didn't take Su Fang seriously. You're currently injured, and this young master won't take advantage of you. Once you've recovered to your peak state, you can challenge this young master at any time, Bai Holan said indifferently. Song Jie said coldly, I'm looking forward to having a battle with you. You'd better not disappoint this young master too much. Bai Holan took a step forward, and like a wave merging into the vast ocean, he instantly disappeared without a trace. Huff. 88 SA flaming cloud swept past and suddenly stopped above a barren desert. The flaming cloud rolled and contracted, and Su Fang's figure was revealed, and then he slowly landed on the barren desert. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Just as he was about to find a place to absorb the natural spiritual energy and life energy of heaven and earth to recover from his injuries, Su Fang's divine light suddenly changed slightly as he looked towards the distant sky. Over 100 contestants from an unknown force had been chasing after Su Fang relentlessly after seeing that he was injured. Su Fang didn't expect that they would still be chasing after him even after escaping to this place. Since there's no way to escape, then there's no need to escape. Chapter 1937. After 3 breaths of time, over 100 participants charged at Su Fang like a dark cloud. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Su Fang, who was sitting cross-legged in the desert, suddenly raised his eyebrows. It turned out that there was a familiar aura among these pursuers that caused the destiny runes of the heavenly fate life shrinking art to explode in his young spirit. Su Fang was very familiar with this aura. Xia Qijuan. Su Fang had long known that Xia Qijuan was also participating in this Kamiko Hoshino competition. However, he did not expect that Xia Qijuan would appear at this time and mix in with the other participants. Clearly, Xia Qijuan was taking advantage of the situation to kill Su Fang. Kill Mo Fenghua and split his points. Over 100 pursuers instantly charged over like a pack of hungry wolves, wanting to eat Su Fang. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Another group of participants came over after hearing the news. These participants were all from the Tongbao Chamber of Commerce, and the person leading them was Jiang Baozhen. Who would have thought that Mo Fenghua was the one who stole the great desolate Dao tree and Dao fruit in the great desolate ruins? Even this young master was fooled and tried to befriend him. Mo Fenghua, how dare you steal this young master's treasures? This young master will destroy your soul. From the divine ability Su Fang executed, Jiang Baozhen inferred that Su Fang was precisely the person who seized the Dao tree and Dao fruit in the abyss of the heavenly palace while he was training in the primeval ruins, and he couldn't help but be surprised and extremely furious. However, he did not make a move. Instead, he waited for an opportunity in the distance. Boom! Boom! Divine abilities exploded with shocking energy, shattering Su Fang, who was sitting cross-legged in the desert. 100-mile-wide crater appeared in the ground. Mo Fenghua was killed so easily? Everyone was shocked and stunned. A deity emperor suddenly shouted, "Everyone, be careful. It's a time great Tao divine ability. What was killed was the figure he left there a breath ago. It's too late to realize that now." Su Fang's cold voice suddenly sounded from the crowd, followed by the explosion of the divine power of the Kuan Luo formless seal. The chaotic gravitational field made people bend forward and backward. More than 10 geniuses who were weaker had their god bodies crushed directly. Just as everyone was panicking, Su Fang once again released the reincarnation divine power. Due to his heavy injuries, the reincarnation divine power could only cover an area of 300 meters. Puff, puff. The god bodies of the geniuses killed by the chaotic earth formless seal had turned into energy and life essence. The god aura of reincarnation swept over and absorbed Su Fang's body. The others were also crazily leaking their blood qi, surging toward Su Fang. After absorbing so much energy and life essence, Su Fang's cultivation base and life force immediately recovered by 30 to 40%. Only then did the crowd react, and they began to attack Su Fang madly. Su Fang activated his flaming cloud wings and flaming cloud step. His body was surrounded by a mysterious power of time as he directly charged into the place with the most people. Boom, boom, boom. The image that people saw of Su Fang was the image that Su Fang left behind a few breaths ago. Su Fang took advantage of these few breaths of time to unleash a frenzied massacre in the crowd. Su Fang specifically targeted the Heavenly God Realm participants, deliberately avoiding a few Deity Emperor Realm experts. Under the underworld reincarnation divine power, the Heavenly God Realm deities' god bodies suddenly collapsed, turning into energy and life force that were crazily absorbed by Su Fang. After killing more than 20 Heavenly God Realm participants, Su Fang's cultivation base and life force had recovered by 70 to 80%. His strength also rose steadily, and his killing became even more frenzied. He can actually directly devour our god bodies. He can actually directly devour our god bodies before he is killed. This is clearly an evil technique. Mo Fenghua is actually an evil cultivator. The terrifying power of the underworld reincarnation technique made everyone tremble with fear. They thought that Su Fang was using some kind of evil technique. Why are you panicking? No matter what kind of evil technique he has, his cultivation base is only at the first sky of the Divine Emperor realm. With so many of us, can't we kill him? Form a formation, don't give him any chance to take advantage of us. Under the command of several Deity Emperor realm experts, the geniuses calmed down from the initial panic and formed a formation surrounding Su Fang. They joined forces to activate the formation's power and attacked Su Fang fiercely. You want to kill me, Su Fang? How can I let you do as you wish? Su Fang's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. He used his divine power, Earth Ripple Step. Borrowing the power of the earth, he carried a majestic aura and rushed towards a first sky of the Divine Emperor Realm expert. Boom, boom, boom. A dozen attacks fell on Su Fang's body. Su Fang spat out blood and his body was broken layer by layer. However, he still rushed towards that person regardless of the consequences. You're courting death. The Divine Emperor sneered and released a sharp sword qi. A fine sword essence condensed into a flying sword. It carried the sword principle's aura and shot towards Su Fang's heart. Swish. Su Fang leaned to one side to avoid his heart. He let the flying sword pierce through his chest while he rushed towards the Divine Emperor Realm expert. Seeing the ruthlessness in Su Fang's eyes and the blood spurting from his chest, the Divine Emperor Realm expert's heart palpitated. Die. After Su Fang made a hand seal, the power of the chaotic Kuan seal formed a repulsive force. It suddenly exploded behind the Divine Emperor Realm expert, forcing him to rush towards Su Fang. This person was indeed an expert. He was not flustered in the face of danger. He opened his mouth and spat out a sword light. At this moment, Su Fang's eyes suddenly burst into flames and the sword light fell into the Divine Emperor Realm expert's eyes. Even though the sword intent released by the Divine Emperor Realm expert was fast, how could it be faster than the sword light? He only saw a flash of fire, and his eyes were immediately burned by Su Fang's divine power of flames. With a boom, his eyes were set ablaze, causing him to howl in pain. At this moment, Su Fang threw a punch. He condensed the power of the divine origin Qi and the divine body. It was not a fancy punch, but it was extremely powerful. The Divine Emperor Realm expert's strength was at the first sky of the Divine Emperor Realm. His divine body was extremely strong. His head made a dull sound, but it was not broken. However, the inside of his head was crushed by Su Fang's power. A divine emperor had fallen just like that. His divine body collapsed and turned into pure energy and life essence, which was absorbed by Su Fang. Boom! Su Fang felt like there was a volcano erupting in his body. His cultivation level soared, reaching the peak of the first sky of the Divine Emperor Realm. His consumed energy and blood qi were not only restored, but also increased by 3 times. Su Fang's aura surged as he turned around and charged at the surrounding contestants. The powerful strength he displayed, as well as his tenacity and ruthlessness, caused everyone to tremble in fear. They continuously retreated, causing the formation to completely collapse. This monster has become so strong. Jiang Baozhen was frightened to the core. He immediately gave up the idea of looking for trouble with Su Fang. Like a ferocious tiger that had slaughtered its way into a flock of sheep, Su Fang unleashed another wave of frenzied slaughter. Boom! After killing more than 30 Divine Emperor Realm contestants, Su Fang's cultivation level had reached the peak of the first sky of the Divine Emperor Realm. He had reached a new height. Second sky of the Divine Emperor Realm. In the world of the Universal Disk, there was no divine tribulation, no culpa qi, no culpa fire. Suddenly, before Su Fang's aura stabilized at the second sky of the Divine Emperor Realm, a thunderous voice came, "Mo Fenghua, you deserve this." It turned out that Xia Qijuan, who had been hiding in the crowd, could not hold back anymore. He attacked Su Fang from behind. Xia Qijuan's handsome face looked ferocious. Flames of madness burned in his eyes. He hated Su Fang so much that he wanted to vent it at this moment. He quickly formed a seal. First, a majestic and heavy divine aura shrouded Su Fang. Then, the void suddenly shook. It felt as if there was a sudden earthquake. The dust, air, and all kinds of substances and spiritual qi that could not be seen with the naked eye were instantly reduced to the tiniest particles under the force of the shock. Even the void was shaken to the point where it rippled like the surface of a lake. Xia Qijuan also cultivated the way of the earth. He had mastered one of the ways of the earth, earthquake. He had reached the Divine Emperor Realm when he was in the Kuan Su Holy Sect. After such a long time of killing in the world of the Universal Disk, his cultivation level had reached the second sky of the Divine Emperor Realm. His strength was quite impressive. Puff, puff, puff. Su Fang's divine body shattered layer by layer. His flesh, bones, and organs were all shattered and turned into blood. Mo Fenghua, I, Xia Qijuan, have become a homeless dog from the Kuan Su Holy Sect. It's all because of you. You didn't expect retribution today, did you? Ha ha. Not only will I kill your divine body, but I will also erase your son's spirit. I will not let go of your grandfather, Xianlingzi. I will make everyone related to you suffer a fate worse than death. Xia Qijuan laughed wildly, as if he had gotten his revenge, and was very happy. Chapter 1938. Boom, boom, boom. Xia Qijuan circulated his divine essence to resist the burning of the fire cloud. Su Fang's illusory fire cloud was formed from the fusion of the great Tao of fire contestants' energy, as well as the fire-type spiritual items and spiritual fire in the Dharma treasure world. It was far less domineering than the 9 yang divine fire and was instantly blasted away by Xia Qijuan's divine essence. However, Xia Qijuan's body was also covered in wounds from the burns. Whoosh! The fire cloud shrank and turned into a burning human figure. Finally, it condensed back into its physical state. So you have such a powerful flame divine ability. It must be the ability given to you by the prehistoric inflammation. It's truly hateful. The primeval earthly flame was originally my, Xia Qijuan's, good fortune, yet it was snatched away by your tricks. Not only will I destroy your divine body and yang spirit, but I will also take away your prehistoric inflammation and take back my fortune. Xia Qijuan gritted his teeth and unleashed his divine ability again. I'm afraid you won't have such a chance. Su Fang put his palms together and then suddenly separated them. The arrow of time formed by black and white qi shot toward Xia Qijuan with the mysterious and powerful power of time. Puff! The 2 divine powers collided and produced a muffled sound. The arrow of time collapsed, but it turned into a terrifying power that could annihilate time and space. It was not blocked by Xia Qijuan's divine power and enveloped him. The great Tao of time of the Ji people. How could the Ji people impart such a supreme divine ability to you? Xia Qijuan's divine body rapidly withered under the power of time, turning into ashes layer by layer like a withered tree. Xia Qijuan's reaction was not slow. Before his divine body was destroyed, his yang spirit broke out of his body. However, the power of time still enveloped his yang spirit, causing his yang spirit to age rapidly like his divine body. Fortunately, the universal disk released a divine power in time to erase the power of time. Xia Qijuan's yang spirit was also teleported out of the divine artifact's inner world. Only then did he escape the fate of his yang spirit being destroyed. Su Fang was also affected by Xia Qijuan's earth-type divine ability. His divine body was violently shaken and shattered everywhere. He spat out a mouthful of blood with broken organs. None of you can escape the fate of being suppressed by me. Su Fang looked at the other contestants with cold eyes. Flames appeared under his feet as he charged into the crowd. Boom! Boom! Su Fang was like the god of death, allowing the attacks to land on his body. The godly aura of the yellow spring reincarnation swept across the battlefield, shattering the bodies of the heavenly gods. Their blood and qi were sucked dry by Su Fang. A few deity emperor geniuses also lost their blood and qi, seeping out of their bodies and being absorbed by Su Fang. As the battle progressed, Su Fang became more and more courageous, while the other contestants were intimidated by Su Fang's ruthless methods and strange and evil divine abilities. Initially, they were chasing after Su Fang, but now they were being chased by Su Fang. After devouring the bodies of more than 30 heavenly gods, Su Fang's aura skyrocketed again. He quickly broke through the peak of the 2nd Heavenly God Emperor realm and reached the 3rd Heavenly God Emperor realm. A 3rd Heavenly Layer low-level God Emperor could be considered an expert in the entire Star Below God realm, not to mention that Su Fang not only had the cultivation of a 3rd Heavenly Layer God Emperor, but also possessed incomparably powerful divine abilities and method. Wherever he went, he was unstoppable, unstoppable, and unstoppable. Boom! Another deity emperor expert had his blood and qi devoured by Su Fang. Then, he fell into the chaotic gravitational field released by Su Fang's chaotic earth formless seal. A terrifying force of gravity and repulsion twisted his body into 2 halves, killing him on the spot. At this time, the prey that everyone was chasing had turned into the predator. More than 100 geniuses who came to kill Su Fang were killed by Su Fang, and the rest began to flee madly. Su Fang let out an angry roar and used his flaming cloud wings to chase after the other contestants. Mo Fenghua, where it's possible to let people off, one should spare them. Aren't you afraid of revenge by killing them all? A deity emperor expert was caught by Su Fang and had nowhere to run. He shouted angrily. Poof! This expert's eyes were first burned by Su Fang's burning heaven eye. Then, Su Fang used the flaming cloud steps and punched his head into a pulp. In the outside world, Su Fang could turn into a sea of blood and devour a sect, turning millions of cultivators into a pool of blood. How could he be soft-hearted? Moreover, Su Fang had always been ruthless when facing enemies who were chasing after him. After devouring the energy and life of this expert, Su Fang's aura rose again. His cultivation reached the peak of the third heavenly god emperor realm, and he felt like he could control heaven and earth. However, Su Fang felt that in the world of the universal disk, with his strength, this was the limit. It would be difficult for him to go any further. Looking up at the vast Milky Way above his head, Su Fang smiled confidently. I've got enough points in this preliminary competition. It's meaningless to kill more contestants. I still have some time to comprehend the Dharma. It was impossible to bring out all the third heavenly god emperor realm experts in the world of the universal disk, but the Dharma they comprehended was real. Su Fang naturally wouldn't miss such an opportunity. Jiang Baozhen. Looking at Jiang Baozhen, who was watching from afar, Su Fang flew over. The experts of Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce around Jiang Baozhen were all on guard. They protected Jiang Baozhen in the center. Su Fang's terrifying strength, divine sense, and incomparably ruthless methods had really frightened them. Young Lord Jiang, I trust you've been well since we last met. Su Fang ribilda fantasmail. I'm fine. Brother Mo is fine too. Jiang Baozhen was so scared that he was incoherent. He finally smoothed out his tongue and cupped his fist. I heard that Brother Mo was being chased by many geniuses. I specially came to help. I didn't expect Brother Mo to be so mighty. With a wave of your hand, you turned a strong enemy into ashes. I admire you so much. Su Fang smiled. I thought young Lord Jiang was here to ask for the primeval Dao tree and primeval Dao fruit. I wouldn't dare. The primeval Dao tree and Dao fruit are Brother Mo's fortune. How would I dare to rashly covet them? Jiang Baozhen smiled bitterly in his heart, but his mouth was extremely polite. Since Brother Jiang said so, I'm relieved. Since that's the case, I'll take my leave. Su Fang smiled embarrassedly and urged the wings of fire cloud to fly into the distance. Jiang Baozhen wiped the cold sweat on his face and looked at Su Fang's departing figure with fear and awe in his eyes. Su Fang randomly found a mountain and sat cross-legged on the top of it to cultivate. With his cultivation at the peak of the third heaven of the divine emperor realm, he comprehended the laws of earth, fire, and time. After that, no other contestants came. Many people saw the Milky Way hovering above Su Fang's head from afar and immediately took a detour. Bai Holan and Song Jie also didn't come. No one knew whether it was because they disdained or because they were preparing for the battle between the two. What Su Fang didn't know was that his performance in the Universal Disc had caused a huge sensation outside the magic treasure world. On the Kimiko Hoshino list, Su Fang's ranking was originally around 500. After killing Xia Qijuan and many other contestants, including 3 Divine Emperor Realm experts, Su Fang's ranking soared again. He killed his way into the top 100 and finally stopped at the 37th place. Kimiko Hoshino had tens of thousands of contestants and each of them was a genius among geniuses. Su Fang's cultivation was only at the second heaven of the heavenly god realm. How amazing was his talent and strength to reach such a high ranking. There were more than 30 geniuses ranked before Su Fang. However, Mo Fenghua's name was so resounding that it overshadowed all the other geniuses except Bai Holan and Song Jie. Su Fang was the youngest among all the contestants and his cultivation time was also the shortest. However, he obtained such amazing result. His talent had already surpassed his father, Mo Tsangtian. Even if he couldn't become the Kimiko Hoshino, his future achievements were very likely to reach the height of the sector lord of a great domain and attract the attention of all the experts. Qishao Shinjun ordered his subordinates to collect all the information related to Su Feng. The results made the experts of the star field feel shocked. As for Xian Lingzi and Master Kuan Su, they became the targets of goodwill from various small domains and forces. The two people who had been ignored before were now on equal footing with many big shot. However, Xian Lingzi was also very worried. Fenghua's talent is so amazing. Now we can almost conclude that he is the reincarnation of some peerless expert. Is he still my grandson? The third divine monarch could see Xian Lingzi's worry, so he transmitted his primordial spirit to him. Brother Xian Lingzi, fellow Taoist Mo values friendship. No matter which mighty figure reincarnates, he's still your grandson. Why are you worried? Xian Lingzi smiled bitterly and didn't say anything more. In the sky above Hidden Soul Island, Ling Xiangmei and the other higher-ups of Kuan Su's divine sect had completely fallen into madness. Ling Xiangmei was ecstatic and somewhat complacent. This kid's performance is so outstanding. It is more or less due to the undergarments I gave him. The news spread to Kuan Su's divine world. The entire Kuan Su's divine world went crazy. Kuan Su's divine sect was too weak. It was already an unexpected surprise that someone could enter the top 10,000 in the preliminaries of the Kimiko Hoshino competition and enter the finals. Mo Fenghua. He actually entered the top 50 in one go. It was unknown how many times higher than people's expectations. How could people not be wild with joy? On the day the news spread, whether it was Kuan Su's divine sect, the vassal sects, powers, or divine nations, all of their wine was drunk in one day. So much so that not a single jug of wine could be found in the enormous Kuan Su's divine world. This was a miracle that had never happened before. The female disciples of Kuan Su's divine sect, who had their undergarments stolen by Mo Fenghua, used to be deeply ashamed. Now it became their capital to show off. Young Master Mo Fenghua being interested in their undergarments meant that they had something that attracted him. At this time, not to mention offering their undergarments, Mo Fenghua had many female disciples offer their bodies. The line would probably stretch from Xianling Dao Hall to Kuan Su's divine sect. Star Billow Divine World's divine capital. In a very ordinary inn. As long as Mo Fenghua dies, I, Xia Qijuan, will give my life to Godless from now on. Chapter 1939. Xia Qijuan, it's useless to talk to us three brothers. This matter requires the boss's approval. Originally, the boss had already agreed that as long as you could enter the top 1,000, he would help you get rid of Mo Fenghua. Unfortunately, you missed this opportunity. The three men wearing black metal masks looked at Xia Qijuan with eyes full of sympathy. Xia Qijuan's talent was indeed extraordinary. In the entire Star Billow God realm, he could be considered a first-rate genius. In the future, his achievements would definitely surpass the realm master of a small realm. Unfortunately, his luck was bad and he met his nemesis. First, he was expelled from Kuan Su's God realm. This time, his chance to soar to the heavens was cut off. Feeling the three's gazes, Xia Qijuan's heart was filled with humiliation. The resentment in his eyes became even stronger. The strongest among the three brothers was only at the fifth heaven of the true God realm. Moreover, he had just ascended, so his aura was unstable. On the other hand, Xia Qijuan was a deity emperor realm deity who had surpassed the heaven deity realm. He could be considered an expert in the entire Star Billow divine realm. However, at this moment, he had to bow and scrape in front of three true God realm ants. One could well imagine how he felt. However, these three brothers were highly regarded by the boss, Solus. They had many powerful experts in their hands. The proud and arrogant Xia Qijuan had no choice but to lower his proud head. Seeing that you are pitiful and your talent is not bad, we three brothers will plead for you to the boss. As for whether the boss will agree or not, it will depend on your luck. the boss of the three brothers said majestically. Xia Qijuan revealed a pleasantly surprised expression, but his eyes were cold. Mo Fenghua, with soulless taking action, you will die without a doubt. And these three lowly ants, why do I, Xia Qijuan, need your pity? There will be a day when I become outstanding. At that time, I will definitely trample the three of you under my feet. Inside the universal universe disk, the crazy slaughter was still in progress. In this final moment, the slaughter became even crazier. Especially those geniuses who felt that they would not be able to pass the preliminaries. In order to obtain a chance to become famous and soar to the heavens, they did not care about anything. Qishao Xinjuan's majestic voice echoed in every corner of the world. The preliminaries are over, everyone come out. It's over so quickly? Given my preliminary results, I'm sure that I won't be ranked in the top 10,000. I won't be able to reach the finals. Give me another 100 years. I've finally made it. With my results, I'm definitely qualified to enter the finals. Ha ha ha, even if I can't become Kamiko Hoshino, I'll still soar in my family. Regardless of whether the geniuses were willing or not, waves after waves of Dharma treasures descended and swept all the participating geniuses out of the Dharma treasure world. Whoosh, whoosh. As soon as the yang spirits appeared outside the universal disk, they immediately flew back into the divine body. There were 10 million geniuses in total, and less than 100,000 of them were able to last until the end of the universal disk. The rest were sent out of the formation space in advance, and a small number of them were directly sent back to their respective divine realms and forces because their yang spirits were killed. Those in the top 10,000 of the preliminaries will stay. The rest of you leave. As soon as the Star Below Realm Lord's voice fell, the 100,000 geniuses who had lasted until the end released their divine might, enveloping them within. Those who were ranked outside of the top 10,000 were directly sent out of the formation, leaving behind only 10,000 lucky ones. Su Fong was naturally among them. The divine sun list in the sky above the divine capital, which was originally crowded with names, suddenly became sparse. The one at the top of the list was still Bai Holan, one of the top 10 young masters of the star field. No one could cover up his peerless brilliance. The second was Song Jie. Before the preliminaries ended, Song Jie and Bai Holan had an earth-shattering battle, which ended with Song Jie's defeat. However, Song Jie was also quite extraordinary. Although he had lost, it was still very difficult for Bai Holan to kill him. Most of the geniuses in the top 100 were from the Star Below Divine Realm. However, it wasn't like what Bai Holan had said before entering the Universal Disk, that the Star Below Divine Realm had included all the top 100. There were two more outliers among them. Other than Song Jie, the other was naturally Su Fong. Mo Fenghua's name was ranked 43rd, which was slightly lower than her previous ranking. The main reason was that Su Fong didn't fight again, which caused her ranking to drop a little. However, this wasn't important. When the final ranking of the preliminaries was revealed, the entire Star Below Divine Realm was shaken. All the forces were prepared to use all kinds of methods to curry favor with the geniuses in the Divine Sun list. Especially the geniuses who were ranked in the top 100 and had the potential to become Kamiko Hoshino. They became the targets of all the forces. However, no one could see these 10,000 geniuses for the time being. Inside the formation space, the universal disk floating high in the middle of the formation space suddenly released a shocking divine might, which enveloped the geniuses in the layers of space. While everyone was stunned and confused, Qishao Xinjun said majestically, "The fact that you were able to pass the preliminaries proves your talent and strength. Therefore, the Realm Master will bestow upon you a great fortune. The cultivation you obtain from the universal disk will be directly supported by the supreme divine might of the divine artifact. You will have 1,000 years to digest it." Everyone was both surprised and happy. Su Fong was also very excited. Only the geniuses who pass the preliminaries are qualified to obtain the cultivation obtained from the universal disk. I just don't know how high my cultivation level will rise after obtaining such a fortune. The preliminaries were just the beginning. The real competition would be the finals. Low cultivation was Su Fang's shortcoming. Whether it was through cultivation or killing other participants, the universal disk could make up for Su Fang's shortcoming. He was naturally looking forward to it and was slightly nervous. Qishao Shinjun continued, "The amount of fortune you will obtain will not only depend on how much you obtain from the universal disk, but also your own cultivation, your divine body, yang spirit, and how much your divine spark can withstand. You lucky brats are all ready." Boom, boom, boom. The many geniuses who were enveloped by the divine might of the universal disk had rays of misty green light seeping into their divine bodies. Su Fang felt a very familiar aura surging and roaring in his body, causing his divine body to tremble crazily as if it was about to shatter at any time. The incomparably pure natural essence and life aura of heaven and earth turned into a majestic and miraculous promotion power, causing Su Fang's cultivation to rise at an astonishing speed. It climbed all the way to the peak of the second firmament of the heavenly god realm and paused for a moment. Then, like a flash flood, it broke through the shackles and reached a new height. Tribulation chi spurted out from his body and quickly turned into tribulation fire. Su Fang immediately activated the 9-yang divine fire and turned it into a fire cloud state. It merged with the tribulation fire and tempered his divine body like a divine artifact. With the prehistoric inflammation as a cover, Su Fang's fire attribute divine ability did not arouse the suspicion of others. At most, they would marvel at the amazing ability that the prehistoric inflammation brought to Su Fang and make people jealous. Due to his performance in the preliminaries, Su Fang became the target of Qishao Shinjun and the Star Billow Realm Lord's attention. The shocking scene of his advancement caused the two experts to feel astonished. The Star Billow Realm Lord sighed and said, "I didn't expect that after fusing with the prehistoric inflammation, this child would actually have such extraordinary divine might of flames. I just don't know how much fortune he'll get and how many steps he'll advance." The prehistoric inflammation is a spiritual item of the desolate era, a treasure of heaven and earth. It's naturally extraordinary. Qishao Shinjun nodded and said, his heart burning with passion. Then, he said, Mo Fenghua's cultivation has reached the third firmament of the Divine Emperor realm in the universal disk. He's 2 steps higher than himself, so the fortune he'll get should not be small. Unfortunately, his cultivation is too low. At most, he can advance by 2 small steps. 2 small steps? That's already an enormous fortune. For other geniuses, it's already extraordinary if they can advance by 1 small step. It's even harder for divine emperors to advance by 1 step. The Star Billow Realm Lord's voice was filled with envy. Every step up in the celestial god realm was extremely difficult. Talent, resources, luck, and a long period of time were all indispensable. If one could advance by 2 steps in a short 1,000 years, it would undoubtedly be an enormous fortune. If it weren't for the God-Child tournament, the Region Lord wouldn't have taken out a half-creation divine artifact like the Universal Disk, and the geniuses of the Star Billow realm wouldn't have had such a fortune. 3 years later, the tribulation fire on Su Fang's body gradually disappeared, and his aura was no longer at the first firmament. Instead, it was at the third firmament. Even the heavenly marks in his body had become 3. A third firmament celestial god. Before he had time to sense the changes in his body, another astonishing surge of energy and life essence was poured into his divine body by the universal disk's divine might. The power of promotion swept out once more. In a short 3 months, Su Fang rapidly stabilized at the third firmament and began to climb toward the peak of the third firmament at an astonishing speed. Going from the third firmament to the fourth firmament was a small threshold. Su Fang's promotion continued for 10 years. When the tribulation fire completely disappeared, Su Fang's aura changed once more. Fourth firmament celestial god. Subsequently, Su Fang's speed of advancement gradually slowed down with the help of the myriad manifestations disc, but it was still 1,000 times faster than usual. Boom! The tribulation fire burned once more, and Su Fang rapidly transformed and ascended to the fifth firmament. Mo Fenghua actually advanced by 3 small steps in one go. Qishao Shenjun and the Star Billow Realm Lord were shocked. Oh, what did this mean? It meant that Su Fang's divine body and yang spirit were strong enough, and his divine palace was deep and stable enough to withstand such a shocking promotion. If this kid advances by another step, then he'll be heaven-defying. Seeing that Su Fang's cultivation was still rising, Qishao Shenjun said resentfully. The more dazzling Su Fang's performance was, the more difficult it would be for him to seize the prehistoric inflammation. Naturally, he didn't want Su Fang to advance too quickly. Who knew that more than 200 years after Qishao Shenjun said this, Su Fang's body spat out a shocking amount of tribulation energy. Chapter 1940. Creation. Great creation. Even Su Fang himself also did not expect that he would actually obtain such a shocking good fortune in the preliminaries of the Divine Sun competition this time, rising from the second firmament celestial deity realm to the sixth firmament in one go. 888 Reading Book. O plus Qishao Shenjun and the Star Billow Realm Lord looked at each other in shock. Of the Kuan Su Divine Sect disciples that were in the same array space as Su Fang, only Lan Gaoyang was left. He had also killed his way into the top 10,000. Seeing Su Fang break through again and again, Lan Gaoyang, who was in the midst of breaking through, forgot to make a breakthrough. He stared at Su Fang dumbfoundedly, his eyes filled with fear. It was as if there was a primordial ferocious beast beside him. After stepping into the sixth firmament heaven god realm, the aura contained in the power of the universal disk was no longer as dense and abundant. However, it did not end there. Su Fang quickly stabilized at the normal state of the sixth celestial layer. When he reached the peak of the sixth celestial layer, the divine power of the universal disk enveloping his body had become very weak and was about to dissipate completely. A peak sixth firmament celestial god is far from enough. Viciousness flickered in Su Fang's eyes. A power of fate that could seize the fortune of the world and a mysterious purple chi exploded from his body. It turned out that he had used the heaven's secret life shrinking technique to plunder the fortune of destiny, as well as the purple chi spirit's supreme divine might to forcibly plunder fortune from the universal disk and attack the seventh heaven celestial god realm. Boom! The Xian Guang disk suddenly trembled, and the power of the magic weapon that was about to disappear completely enveloped Su Fang's body suddenly became fierce. The green Xian Guang covered Su Fang again, and it was several times denser than before. The pure and wondrous natural essence and life energy of the world surged madly into Su Fang's body, pushing him to reach a higher level. Mo Fenghua is actually forcibly seizing the universal disk's power of creation. This. How is this possible? Qishao Shenjun and the Star Billow Realm Lord abruptly stood up. These two Realm Lord experts were also incomparably shocked. How dare he? He deserves to die. Qishao Shenjun revealed his killing intent. Su Fang's action was undoubtedly an affront and provocation to him. Sir Divine Lord, for this child to possess such a heaven-defying ability, I'm afraid, should we first inquire about his background? Su Fang was born in the Kuan Su Divine Realm, and the Kuan Su Divine Realm was a small realm of the Star Billow Divine Realm. Thus, Su Fang could also be considered a genius of the Star Billow Divine Realm. He naturally had to speak up for Su Fang. Qishao Shenjuan's heart trembled as he suddenly thought of the primordial chaos golden list. The killing intent on his face immediately disappeared as he slowly sat back down and recovered his previous dignified demeanor. He said indifferently, Since the Realm Lord has said so, then let's wait and see for now. About 200 years later, Su Fang broke through the peak of the 6th heavenly layer in one go and stepped into a new level, the 7th heavenly layer. In less than 1,000 years, he had broken through from 2nd firmament celestial god to 7th firmament celestial god. Such a shocking improvement, not to mention in the myriad of worlds. Su Fang had never had such a shocking improvement when he was in a small world or a great world. The heaven-defying ability of the myriad manifestations disc, Su Fang's accumulation in the preliminaries, the supreme talent bestowed upon Su Fang by the primal god lattice, and his powerful divine body and sun spirit. In addition to the heaven-defying ability of the purple cloud Dharma spirit and the Tianji life shrinking technique, Su Fang's crazy improvement this time. Su Fang released his sensing power to sense the changes in his body. The sun spirit in his divine aperture became a real existence. It was like another Su Fang. The sea of magic power became even more vast and the divine aperture was incomparably deep. The divine aperture was like an incomparably vast starry sky. The star vortex rotated more than 10 times faster. As it rotated, there was a kind of divine might of the heavenly Tao. The area of the star vortex also increased by more than 10 times. The divine aperture, and divine aperture all had 7 heavenly marks. Moreover, they became more complicated. The heavenly Tao aura became more profound and profound. The mysterious imprint of the great Tao of Earth was especially clear. After stepping into the 7th heavenly layer, Su Fang felt that the entire world, including himself, had changed. His state of mind became even more open-minded. The long-lost feeling of being a powerful expert finally returned to him. The great perfection realm physical body had undergone purification time and time again. In addition to the tempering of the great Tao of refining, it had already surpassed the height of the heavenly God realm. The sensing power of the great perfection realm and all the true body abilities built on the foundation of the great perfection realm physical body had undergone an unprecedented transformation. Su Fang also had a feeling that with his current strength, he had already surpassed Kuan Su. Ordinary elders of the divine sect, even Ling Xiangmei, might not necessarily be his opponent. If such an astonishing increase was not without repercussions, Su Fang felt that his foundation was unstable. This was a great taboo for cultivators. Su Fang continued to sit cross-legged. Many true words appeared in his mind. The great Tao struggle. He allowed himself to settle down, calm down, and comprehend the essence of the battle for the grand Tao. He stopped being complacent from the improvement of his strength, and he allowed his Tao heart to immerse itself in a tranquil state. This was the heart of a cultivator that a cultivator should possess. Using 10 years, Su Fang stabilized his Tao heart. Only then did he begin to swallow pills to stabilize his current realm. Su Fang's heaven's secret life shrinking technique sensed that Qishao Shinjun and the Star Billow Realm Lord were watching him. He did not dare to use the Yellow Springs Blood Sea, nor did he take out the Time Cave. Instead, he sat cross-legged on the spot and took out more than half of the Creation Saint pill. He peeled off a small portion of the medicinal powder and diluted it with spiritual water before he began to swallow. When he was trapped in the Great Vicissitudes formation, Mo Tiangong gave Su Fang 1 Creation Saint pill. Later on, he gave him another 10. Until now, he had not used up a single one. Therefore, he did not have to worry about not having enough pills. That's the Creation Saint pill. What Su Fang didn't expect was that when he took out more than half of the Creation Saint pill, it once again shocked Scarlet Firmament God Lord and the Starbillow Realm Lord. Scarlet Firmament God Lord's greed for the desolate earth flame was completely suppressed. Why was this? The Creation Saint pill was a peerless pill of the Transcendental King grade. Forget Su Fang, who was at the Heavenly God realm, even realm lords like them could not possess such a pill. Moreover, Qishao Shenjun knew that in this star field, only one peerless expert could refine the creation Saint Pill. Infinite life. And infinite life was a peerless existence who had the right to select talented seedlings and enter the primal chaos golden ranking. When he recalled the various powerful divine abilities that Su Fang possessed, Scarlet Firmament Divine Sovereign was almost certain that Su Fang was the genius that Infinite Life and Mo Tiangong had entered into the primal chaos golden ranking in the star below God realm. Qishao Shenjun shuddered at the thought of the consequences of having any ideas about him. Qishao Shenjun's killing intent towards Su Fang completely vanished. He also did not plan to call Su Fang over to pursue the matter of him stealing the Universal Disk's power of creation. However, when he thought of the prehistoric inflammation, Qishao Shenjun found it hard to part with it. By the time Su Fang stabilized his cultivation at the seventh heaven of the heavenly god realm, the 1,000-year time limit Qishao Shenjun gave him was already up. The Star Billow Realm Lord said majestically, "I'll give you 10 years to go back and reorganize. 10 years later, it will be the finals of the Kamiko Hoshino tournament." Numerous geniuses were sent out of space by the divine might of the formation and appeared in the sky above the divine capital. The 10,000 geniuses who passed the preliminaries saw the Kamiko Hoshino ranking and found their own rankings. Baiholan is indeed first in the preliminaries. The first place of this Kamiko Hoshino tournament will definitely belong to him. Only Baiholan can represent the Star Billow realm and show off his might in the Star Field's Godchild tournament. Song Jie is also heaven-defying. He's actually about the same as Baiholan. Mo Fenghua is actually ranked 43rd. Seeing Su Fang's ranking, those who didn't know Su Fang's background weren't that surprised. However, those who knew Su Fang's cultivation during the preliminaries were shocked. Young Master Mo, congratulations. You're simply heaven-defying. You actually killed your way into the top 100. You've brought great glory to the God realm for Kuan Su. Lan Gaoyang stepped forward and looked at Su Fang with eyes full of shock and reverence. You're not bad either. You've entered the top 10,000 as you wished. Su Fang smiled faintly. Mo Fenghua. Song Jie flew toward Su Fang with a baleful aura. I originally thought you were an insignificant ant. I didn't expect you to be a peerless genius whose talent even surpasses mine. Song Jie said coldly and embarrassedly. Divine light wrapped around Su Fang and a murderous light flashed in Song Jie's eyes. I'm deeply regretful that I wasn't able to kill you in the preliminaries. I hope to have the chance to meet you in the finals. Crushing geniuses is the most interesting thing. Su Fang replied coldly, maybe I'll disappoint you. Maybe you'll become my stepping stone. Very arrogant. I like it. Song Jie chuckled and then left embarrassedly. The geniuses from the Star Billow God realm and other God realms looked at Su Fang with eyes full of jealousy. Almost everyone felt unconvinced. In their opinion, Su Fang was just lucky. The rules of the preliminaries were in his favor. In terms of true strength, let alone the top 100, entering the top 10,000 would be a fluke. Baiholan only glanced at Su Fang as if he was looking at an ant or a plant. Then, he left under the escort of the geniuses from the Star Billow God realm. Xian Lingzi, Master Kuan Su, and the 3 divine kings came to welcome him. First, they congratulated him and praised him. When they found out that Su Fang's cultivation had reached the 7th heavenly layer, the shock and surprise they showed could be imagined. Back at Hidden Soul Island, many of the higher-ups of Kuan Su's divine sect, as well as the disciples who were eliminated, couldn't help but be stirred up. When Su Fang returned to his residence, before he could even sit down, a steady stream of experts from various divine worlds and forces came to pay him a visit. Their intentions couldn't be clearer. They were expressing goodwill, roping him in, and of course, poaching him. This made Master Kuan Su very angry and somewhat worried. Just as Su Fang was tired of dealing with them, the Star Billow Realm Master personally sent an envoy to Hidden Soul Island and invited Su Fong to stay in the Star Billow God Realm's secret realm. Kuan Su's divine sect naturally benefited from this and left Hidden Soul Island with Su Fong. Chapter 1941. Currently, the divine capital of the Star Billow God world was packed with people. It wasn't easy for a realm lord of a small realm like Kuan Su's divine sect to find a place to stay. This time, Kuan Su's divine sect had more than 10,000 people. They actually directly moved into the secret realm of the Star Billow God world. When they majestically entered the secret space above the divine capital, they attracted the envy and jealousy of countless people. This time, the Star Billow Realm Master had given the Kuan Su God Realm a great deal of face. This had caused the Kuan Su God Realm, which was ranked at the bottom of the Star Billow Realm, to be able to hold their heads high for once. All of this was because a peerless genius had appeared in Kuan Su's divine sect. Other than Song Jie, there weren't many geniuses in the top 100 who were valued by the Star Billow Realm Lord as much as Su Fong. Why was this? The talent that Su Fong displayed was because he had a high chance of reaching the Realm Lord of a great realm. Tomorrow's expert would naturally be valued by the Star Billow Realm Lord. However, this wasn't the main reason. Sanskrit was forced to let Fan Su commit suicide. After that, they swallowed their anger and didn't find any trouble with Su Fong. The strong warrior of the Ji clan, Jiang, came aggressively, but in the end, he returned in defeat. At that time, the three divine lords, Xian Lingzi, and the others were present. Even Kuan Su Shangren did not know the details. However, Jiang quietly left while Su Fong was safe and sound. The Ji people didn't say anything after that. This was something that everyone knew. How domineering and powerful were the Fan and Ji clans. Yet, they couldn't do anything to Su Fong. From this, it could be seen that he had a terrifying power and expert supporting him. Furthermore, the Star Billow Realm Lord had personally witnessed Su Fong's continuous breakthroughs. He concluded that there was definitely a peerless expert or power behind Su Fong. There were many geniuses in the universe, but there weren't many who could truly grow into experts. As the saying goes, the heavens are jealous of geniuses. Actually, it was people who were jealous of geniuses. Without the support of a powerful background, the more talented one was, the faster one would die. Su Fong possessed stunning talent, as well as mysterious and powerful support. He also possessed the qualifications to become an expert, so how could the Starwave Realm Lord not try his best to rope him in? The Star Billow Realm Master had specially arranged for people to clear out a mountain peak for Kuan Su and the others in the secret realm. No other small realm or power in the Star Billow God realm had ever received such treatment. Su Fong chose an immortal's cave and settled down, beginning to prepare for the decisive battle 10 years later. Although he charged into the top 100 in the preliminaries, wanting to win in the finals and become a Kimiko Hoshino, Su Fong's seventh firmament celestial deity strength was still not enough. The difficulty was still extremely great. The following finals wouldn't be the same as the preliminaries. In the world of the universal disc, there would be many restrictions. Cultivation, divine abilities, pills, magic treasures, talismans, and other formidable techniques would all be displayed to the fullest. Su Fong entered the Immortal's Cave of Time, and Su Fong settled into a state of cultivation. This time, Su Fong's main focus was on the earth, fire, and comprehension of the great Tao of time, especially the laws. The other thing was divine artifacts. Although he didn't dare to use the Origin Sacred Mirror, Su Fong possessed and could easily control many divine artifacts. Their power was also incomparably shocking. Other than the three-peak mid-rank divine artifacts that the three divine kings gave Su Fong, the Earthshaker boots, flying wings, and silver Krite sword, there was also the supreme-rank divine artifact Frost Seal the Universe that he obtained from Mo Yuntian. What Su Fong looked forward to the most were the Xian Wang Six Paths Pagoda, the profound underworld lightning archive, and the Yellow Springs reincarnation sword that the 3 divine kings upgraded to mid-rank divine artifacts. This was especially true for the Xian Huang 6 Paths Pagoda. It had accompanied Su Fang since he was in a small world, and it was finally time for it to spread its might throughout the universe. There was also the prehistoric inflammation. Not only did Su Fang let it devour Origin Yang energy in the Origin Sacred Mirror, but he also bought a large number of fire attribute spirit items and heavenly flames for the prehistoric inflammation to devour and help it grow rapidly. In the upcoming finals, it would be Su Fang's trump card. Su Fang had no choice but to stop cultivating as more and more guests came to visit. Guests who could enter the Star Billow God Realm's secret realm were naturally extraordinary, such as the Tong Bao Merchant Guild and the Realm Master of the Huifeng God Realm. Aside from Jiang Baozhen, a higher-up from the Tong Bao Merchant Guild also came to visit. Other than offering a generous gift to resolve some of the grudges between Jiang Baozhen and Su Fang during their training in the Chaos Ruins, he also bought 10 Chaos Dao fruits from Su Fang. The price he offered was the equivalent of 2 supreme-grade divine artifacts. His goodwill couldn't be more obvious. You stole their treasures and killed their people, yet you still came to apologize and offer such great benefits? Su Fang felt a little ashamed. However, even though he felt ashamed, he still took the benefit. What kind of storms had Su Fang not seen before? Especially after witnessing the shamelessness and despicableness of Grandmaster Grandstar, Su Fang knew that the Tong Bao Merchant Guild only cared about profit. Naturally, he wouldn't be fooled by the Tong Bao Merchant Guild's politeness and goodwill. The Realm Master of the Huifeng God Realm personally came to visit with Yi Yangkong and the other disciples who had participated in the Chaos Ruins. Their purpose was similar to that of the Tong Bao Merchant Guild. Yi Yangkong, the arrogant young master of the Huifeng God Realm, was eliminated by Su Fang in the preliminaries and lost the chance to enter the finals. One could imagine how much hatred he had for Su Fang. However, under the orders of the Huifeng Realm Master, he had no choice but to lower his head and apologize to Su Fang. At this time, the Star Billow Realm Master personally came. The Huifeng Realm Master was shocked and hurriedly left Su Fang's cave with Yi Yangkong. Now, do you understand how unwise it was to become enemies with Mo Fenghua? The Huifeng Realm Master said in a deep voice when he saw that Yi Yangkong was still angry and unconvinced. So what if you were in the limelight in the preliminaries? The real competition will be in the finals. I don't believe that Mo Fenghua can still enter the top 100 and become Kamiko Hoshino. When he is kicked out of the finals, he will return to his original state. He will still be a lowly ant from the Kuan Su God Realm. Yi Yangkong still snorted disdainfully at Su Fang. Fool! Can't the Star Billow Realm Master see through this? The Realm Master values Mo Fenghua so much. Even if he is eliminated in the finals and can't become Kamiko Hoshino, he will still be highly regarded by the Realm Master in the future and nurture with all his might. His achievements in the future will definitely not be something you can compare to. Such an exceptional genius, you should either kill him before he matures or befriend him. At the very least, you can't become his enemy. Do you think the Huifeng Realm Master still has the ability to kill him? Think about it again. When he was training in the Chaos Ruins, what was his cultivation level? What is his cultivation level now? The Huifeng Realm Master's words calmed Yi Yangkong down. After thinking about it carefully, Yi Yangkong sucked in a breath of cold air. When he started training in the Chaos Ruins, Su Fang was only at the 4th heaven of True God Realm. Now he was at the 7th heaven of Heavenly God Realm. How could Yi Yangkong not be shocked by such a terrifying improvement? The hatred and anger in his heart were instantly extinguished. At least you're not too stupid. The Huifeng Realm Master snorted coldly. Then, coldness seeped out of his eyes and he said coldly and embarrassedly, Mo Fenghua is in the limelight right now. The Huifeng Realm Master can't afford to offend him. Naturally, we have to befriend him. If one day he really becomes a nobody like you said, at that time, the first one to take his head will be the Hui Feng Realm Master. Inside the cave, the Star Billow Realm Master asked pleasantly, trying to get some clues from Su Feng. On the surface, Su Feng was trembling and looked like he was overwhelmed by the favor, but he handled it flawlessly. The Star Billow Realm Master didn't get anything out of it. On the contrary, he felt that Su Feng's background was even more unfathomable. Mo Fenghua, I promise you that no matter whether you can become Kamiko Hoshino or not, you will be a special disciple of the Star Billow Realm. I will nurture you with all my heart and help you become a powerful expert. The Star Billow Realm Master made a promise directly, which made Su Feng very unhappy. A special disciple who was personally appointed by the Star Billow Realm Master naturally couldn't be compared to other special disciples. In the future, he would definitely be considered a powerful figure in the Star Billow Realm. However, Su Feng's goal was far from that. Fighting his way into the top 100 in the finals, becoming Kamiko Hoshino, participating in the battle for the godchild of the star field, and stepping onto the stage of the entire star field. This was Su Feng's true goal. The other thing was Bai Ling. Just being a special disciple of the Star Billow Realm wasn't enough to save Bai Ling. Let's go. Lord Qishao Shenjun wants to see you personally. The Star Billow Realm Master waved his hand and led Su Feng out of the cave. They passed through the formation and arrived outside the training hall where Qishao Shenjun lived. The Star Billow Realm Master gave Su Feng a few more words before leaving in embarrassment. Come with me. Su Feng didn't see Qishao Shenjun. Instead, he was led by an expert under Qishao Shenjun to the depths of the training hall and to a palace garden. Su Feng didn't understand Qishao Shenjun's intentions and couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. Buzz buzz buzz. The destiny runes of the life-shrinking technique flashed rapidly in his mind and condensed into Bai Ling's image, causing Su Feng to become excited. Sister Bai. Su Feng stepped into the palace garden and saw Bai Ling shackled in a cage with his perfect vision. He immediately transmitted a message to Bai Ling, brother, it's actually you. The originally listless Bai Ling immediately became spirited. His eyes flashed with a shocking light as he looked at Su Feng in disbelief. Bai Ling had fallen into Qishao Shenjun's hands and his fate was in the hands of an expert. It wasn't that he hadn't fantasized about meeting Su Feng one day. However, that was just a fantasy. He didn't think that he would actually meet Su Feng. One could imagine how excited he was. Although Su Feng's appearance had changed greatly, Bai Ling definitely wouldn't mistake the familiar aura of his nascent spirit. Brother, why are you here? You've actually become a heavenly god. Sensing Su Feng's aura, Bai Ling was shocked once again. He looked at Su Feng in disbelief. Su Feng was about to ask Bai Ling how he ended up in such a state when the expert under Qishao Shenjun spoke up. Mo Fenghua, you've already met this crane demon. It's time to pay your respects to the Lord Divine Lord. Chapter 1942. In a spacious palace, Qishao Shenjun sat high on the golden throne and looked down. A dominating aura enveloped the palace as if the heavens and earth were about to submit to him. Su Feng stood alone below like a lowly and insignificant ant. Mo Fenghua, do you know why I called you here? Qishao Shenjun's majestic voice broke the oppressive atmosphere in the palace. I dare not make wild guesses about you, Sir Divine Lord. Please enlighten me. Su Feng cupped his fists and bowed. Prehistoric inflammation. I'm very interested in your prehistoric inflammation, Qishao Shenjun said directly in a domineering manner. As expected, it's for the prehistoric inflammation. Su Feng's heart sank. After a moment of silence, Su Feng said helplessly, since you're interested in the prehistoric inflammation, I'm willing to offer you the prehistoric inflammation. However, at this moment, Bai Ling was in Qishao Shenjun's hands. Even if he had to offer the Origin Sacred Mirror in exchange for the prehistoric inflammation, Su Feng would not hesitate. You're planning to use the prehistoric inflammation in exchange for that little crane, right? Qishao Shinjuan's lips curled into a disdainful smile. Su Fang was willing to take out the primeval earth flame, a primeval treasure, to exchange for a little crane demon. Clearly, divine sovereign Qishao scoffed at this. Su Fang was already prepared to take out the prehistoric inflammation. However, Qishao Shinjun suddenly changed the topic. What kind of person am I? Why would I bully the weak? Therefore, I'll give you a chance. Su Fang was shocked and stunned. I promise that if you can enter the top 100 in the God's Child competition, not only will I not take your prehistoric inflammation, but I'll also release that little crane. However, if you can't enter the top 100, you don't deserve the prehistoric inflammation. You'd better take it out and offer it to me. Su Fang was surprised and astonished by Qishao Shinjuan's words. After thinking for a while, Su Fang immediately understood Qishao Shinjuan's intention. Obviously, after the preliminary round of the Universal Disc and the consecutive breakthroughs that followed, Qishao Shinjun did not dare to openly snatch Su Fang's prehistoric inflammation. At that moment, even if Divine Lord Qishao couldn't determine that Su Fang was a peerless genius who had been accepted into the primordial chaos golden role by Xing Wuji, he could determine that Su Fang was backed by a peerless expert like Xing Wuji. How could he not be afraid? He made such a promise. If Su Fang entered the top 100 in the finals, it would prove his talent and directly release Bai Ling, which could be considered as selling Su Fang a big favor. If Su Fang could not enter the top 100, it would mean that he had lost the halo of a genius. Then, Xing Wuji would not pay attention to him, and Qishao Shinjun would be able to take away the prehistoric inflammation without any scruples. This Qishao Shinjun may not be a gentleman, but at least he's an honest and upright person. Thank you, Sir Divine Lord, for your help. Su Fang cupped his fists and thanked him. His impression of Qishao Shinjun immediately changed. Qishao Shinjun suddenly laughed loudly. Mo Fenghua, do you know if I want you to fail or become Kamiko Hoshino as you wish? Su Fang was stunned. Sir Divine Lord, do you want me to enter the top 100 smoothly? That's right, Qishao Shinjun said very decisively. Before this, I naturally wanted you to lose in the Kamiko Hoshino competition, but now I've changed my mind. Your performance in the preliminaries was already shocking. If you can enter the top 100 in the Kamiko Hoshino competition, it will be enough to prove your peerless talent. To be able to find a genius like you, I've done a great service to the Zone Master. As long as you can perform outstandingly in the Star Sector's God's Child competition, the benefits I'll receive will be far greater than the prehistoric inflammation. Thank you, Sir Divine Lord, for telling me so frankly. I will definitely not disappoint you. Su Fang cupped his fists and bowed. If I'm not disappointed, then I'll lose the prehistoric inflammation, ha ha ha. Su Fang walked out of the palace amidst Qishao Shinjuan's loud laughter. Kamiko Hoshino. 4 Sister Bai, for the rise of the myriad realms, I must enter the top 100 in the finals and become Kamiko Hoshino. Su Fang felt a heavy pressure, but at the same time, his heart was filled with determination. He left Qishao Shinjuan's secret realm and returned to his cave. The finals of the Kamiko Hoshino competition were about to begin. Out of the 10,000 geniuses who passed the preliminaries, who would become one of the 100 god children became the focus of everyone's attention. The Tongbao Chamber of Commerce analyzed the strength of the 10,000 geniuses and came up with a very credible ranking prediction. Bai Holan was the undisputed number 1. Song Jie was number 2. Next were Zhou Kuanga, Yuan Yunyu, Piercing Metal. Most of the geniuses in the top 100 were from the Star Below God realm. As for Su Fang, he was ranked 250. This ranking was far from Su Fang's ranking in the preliminaries. The Tongbao Chamber of Commerce definitely did not have any intention of underestimating or belittling Su Fang. On the contrary, They overestimated Su Fang's strength. The main reason was that Su Fang's cultivation was too low. He was only at the 7th heaven of the celestial god realm, and he was only able to advance by leaps and bounds with the help of the universal disk. Advancing too quickly was not necessarily a good thing. A shaky foundation would not only be detrimental to future cultivation, but also greatly reduce one's strength. Su Fang had displayed shocking talent and methods in the preliminaries, but talent was of no use in the finals. As for methods, which genius in the top 10,000 did not have powerful divine abilities, divine artifacts, and other powerful methods? The lowest cultivation of the top 1,000 geniuses in the Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce's prediction was the 9th heaven of the celestial god realm. There were also many true experts in the divine emperor realm. The fact that the Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce ranked Su Fang in the top 200 already showed that they valued Su Fang enough. 250? No idea if it was a coincidence or the Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce's intention. His ranking just happened to be 250. After learning of this ranking from Count Chong, it made Su Fang very depressed. Why was it not 249 or 251, but 250? Young lord, this old servant will go find Jiang Baozhen right away. I think that he's clearly mocking young lord on purpose. Count Chong was very annoyed. Count Chong's anger was also not without reason. Su Fang amazed the world with a single brilliant feat in the preliminaries, obtaining the Starbelow Realm Lord's high regard. The people who were jealous of him were not in the minority. This 250 ranking would attract who knows how much mockery. The Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce's prediction is obtained through the analysis of countless experts from various geniuses' information. It's also impossible for Jiang Baozhen to influence the ranking. 250 it is. Let some people laugh their fill now. Before long, they'll shut up. Su Fang smiled carelessly, a powerful confidence arising spontaneously. Count Chong could only drop the matter. At this time, Su Fang sensed an extremely unfamiliar aura approaching the cave. Then, a gentle voice came from the entrance. Is Sir Mo Fenghua here? Su Fang raised his eyebrows. What's the matter? The woman outside the cave was the Starbelow Realm's steward of the mountain where Kuan Su's divine sect resided. Her name was Runyu. The Realm Lord has specially sent someone to deliver Dragon Saliva God illuminating incense to assist young Lord in his cultivation. Dragon Saliva God illuminating incense? Su Fang's eyes lit up. The so-called Dragon Saliva God illuminating incense was a kind of natural treasure called God illuminating grass that grew from the bones of ancient divine dragons after their death. It was a type of incense that was refined by alchemists. The Dragon Saliva God illuminating incense could emit a strange fragrance. If a god cultivated in this fragrance, not only would they be able to clearly comprehend the heavenly laws, they would also be able to rapidly stabilize their cultivation. It seems that the Starbelow Realm Lord has invested a lot in me. He even took out the Dragon Saliva God illuminating incense. Su Fang opened the cave's entrance barrier and a woman in purple slowly walked in. Su Fang had seen this woman several times before. She was Runyu. This woman's appearance was very ordinary, but her cultivation was not low. She had reached the height of the 1st heaven of the divine emperor realm. With such strength, she would at least be an elder in Kuan Su's divine sect. However, in the Starbelow realm, she was merely a steward of a mountain. It was clear that the Starbelow realm's foundation was deep. Su Fang's great perfection realm ability also sensed that Runyu's body was emitting a strange fragrance that ordinary gods would not be able to smell. When inhaled, it made one feel relaxed and happy. Runyu took out a jade box from her storage ring, then bid farewell and left. When Count Chong saw that Su Fang wanted to cultivate, he also left the cave. Su Fang opened the jade box and saw a 3-inch long incense inside. It emitted a faint fragrance, but it was different from the fragrance on Runyu's body. Su Fang took a breath and his mind immediately became much clearer. The dragon saliva god incense is indeed extraordinary. Su Fang was very happy. He entered the cultivation room and ignited the dragon saliva god incense. The fragrance immediately spread throughout the room. Su Fang was about to settle down and cultivate when suddenly, his body felt numb and stiff. He could not move his body at all, and even his divine essence was difficult to circulate. Zzz. A flow of evil and eccentric aura seeped into every corner of his body, eroding his god body. He looked like a rotten corpse. Layers of his body collapsed from the inside to the outside, emitting an indescribable stench of a corpse. The dragon saliva god incense is poisonous. Su Fangda was shocked. He quickly had Gui devour the evil aura in his body. At the same time, he urged his pure yang energy to transform into 9 yang divine fire to burn and refine the poison. The aura that exploded in his body was similar to corpse poison, evil and extremely poisonous. Su Fang estimated that if a high-level divine emperor like Kuan Su was poisoned by this poison, even if he did not die, he would lose a layer of skin, and his vitality would be greatly damaged. Fortunately, Su Fang had Gui and pure yang energy. Gui could devour any kind of poison. Su Fang's pure yang energy could refine all kinds of evil energy between heaven and earth. Gui devoured crazily. Coupled with the burning of 9 yang divine fire, the evil aura in his body was quickly cleansed. However, Su Fang also paid a great price. Nearly 1/5 of his blood qi was corroded. His whole body felt weak. After Gui devoured the evil aura, she found it difficult to digest it. It was as if she was drunk. This made Su Fang very worried. Why did Run Yu use such a strong poison to kill me? Chapter 1943. Just when Su Fang was puzzled, his eyebrows suddenly furrowed. 98989 Read 9 Book 30. It turned out that Run Yu actually returned, and used a clever method to open the enchantment of the abode's door, entering the abode. Fierce killing intent flashed in Su Fang's eyes. However, in the next moment, Su Fang changed his mind. After forming a seal, his divine body rapidly shattered, turning into a pool of blood. Then, Su Fang made Undead Lord release a thick death aura from his body. At the same time, he also made Gui release a strong poison, fusing it into the blood, making the blood look like a pool of poisonous water that was melted by the strong poison. Right after doing all this, Run Yu appeared at the door of the room. Humph, the ambergris god transforming incense is indeed a supreme treasure. But how would you know that when the ambergris god transforming incense meets the fragrance of the withered red spider lily, it will turn into a strong poison? Even upper-level high emperors don't have the fortune to enjoy it. How can you, a puny little 7th firmament celestial deity, not die? Run Yu said coldly, then left the abode in embarrassment. After an incense stick's time. Whoosh, after the blood rolled, it rapidly condensed into Su Fang's physical body. So the fragrance on Run Yu's body is called the withered red spider lily. Law spoke from the time abode in the depths of his body. The ambergris god transforming incense originally didn't have any poison. Only when the withered red spider lily fuses with it will it become a strong poison that turns divine bodies into rotting corpses. This woman is probably not simple. I want to see who wants to kill my Su Fang. Su Fang slightly urged the heaven secret life shrinking art, covering his entire body's aura, then left the abode. Sweeping with his great perfection ability, he sensed that Run Yu had already left the Dao field, flying in the void. Flying all the way to a place where there was no one, Run Yu formed a seal, condensing a lifelike old man's primordial spirit shadow from his 2 palms, Xian Guang. The old man said coldly, "It's done?" Run Yu bowed and said, "Fortunately, I didn't fail. Mo Fenghua has already turned into a pool of blood, deader than dead. I didn't expect it to be so easy." However, for soulless, let alone a mere heavenly god, even the realm lord of a small world is a piece of cake. The old man's primordial spirit revealed a cold and arrogant expression. What should I do next? If we continue to stay in the star below God realm, we might be able to use them in the future. Yes. The shadow of the old man's primordial spirit vanished without a trace, and the jade once again flew towards the mountain peak. Su Fang returned to the cave residence. Soulless? What kind of power was this? It actually has the same name as the assassin organization established by King Chu of the state of Zhao when I was in the small world. Su Fang was flabbergasted. He hadn't left Kuan Su's divine sect for long, so he naturally didn't know about the soulless assassin organization. Who wants to kill me? Of course it wouldn't be the Star Billow Realm Lord, much less Qishao Shinjun. Could it be the Sanskrit or the Ji people? Su Fang couldn't figure it out no matter how hard he racked his brains. To be able to command a manager of the Star Billow God Realm's secret realm, this soulless organization obviously wasn't an ordinary one. With Su Fang's current strength, naturally suppressing the jade was a piece of cake, but this would cause a series of troubles. The finals of the Divine Child tournament were imminent, and he didn't have time to be distracted by other things. Let's put this matter aside for now. After the Divine Child tournament, whether you're soulless or soulless, I, Su Fang, will find you. Su Fang smiled coldly. Su Fang didn't dare to continue using the remaining half of the dragon's saliva god incense, so he put it into a jade box and sealed it in his storage ring. Law reminded him, Su Fang, although this thing almost took your life, it is indeed a rare treasure. As long as you don't encounter the withered red spider lily, you'll be fine. Let's put this matter aside for later. Su Fang shook his head and smiled bitterly. After that, Su Fang went into seclusion in his cave and didn't step out, as if nothing had happened. Although Ruanyu concluded that Su Fang was dead, she didn't see any unusual movements. Although she was suspicious, she didn't enter Su Fang's cave to investigate so as not to attract attention. Just as Su Fang was about to be poisoned, 3 young people were gathered in a private room in a restaurant in the divine capital. A 15 or 16-year-old youth sat in the main seat. He was handsome and had a noble and arrogant air about him. This youth was Ji Eng's son, Ji Xingyue. Piercing metal by Shin, I'll leave the matter of that bastard in your hands. Once it's done, the Ji people won't mistreat you, Ji Xingyue said coldly, his voice filled with hatred and murderous intent. Piercing metal and Bai Shin were both geniuses from the Star Billow God realm. In the rankings released by the Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce, Piercing Metal was ranked 5th while Bai Shin was ranked 17th. They were both divine Emperor realm geniuses. Piercing Metal wore a golden robe. His eyes were sharp and his voice was sonorous. Killing an ant rank 250 is as easy as lifting a finger. Young Master Ji, please don't worry. Mo Fenghua was only able to play to the gallery during the preliminaries, but he was praised to the heavens. Even the Realm Lord treated him as a character. The real battle will begin in the finals. At that time, he'll show his true colors. Even if the two of us don't do anything, he'll still die. Bai Shun was a fair and clean young god. When he mentioned Su Fang, his eyes couldn't help but reveal jealousy and disdain. Then I'll leave it to the two of you. Also, this young master doesn't want him to die so easily. Ji Xingyue smiled proudly. The Ji people were afraid of Su Fang and didn't dare to target Su Fang. However, he, Ji Xingyue, only needed to use a little trick to get rid of Su Fang without leaving a trace. How could he not be proud? Bai Shin asked in astonishment, if we're talking about it, Mo Fenghua is young Master Ji's cousin. Why does young Master Ji want to get rid of him so quickly? With the Ji people's strength, killing a lowly ant should be easy. Why does young Master Ji want to borrow Brother Jin and my hands? He's just a bastard. This young master naturally doesn't have any kinship with him. As for why the Ji people didn't do anything, it's best that young Master Bai Shin doesn't know. Ji Xingyue said coldly. When it came to an expert like Su Fang, no matter how arrogant and ignorant he was, he knew that there were some things that he couldn't say. The day of the finals of the Kimiko Hoshino tournament had finally arrived. The entire Star Below God realm fell into a state of excitement and nervousness. The streets of the divine capital were empty. The Kimiko Hoshino proclamation that hung high in the sky above the divine capital had once again become the focus of attention. Outside Su Fang's cave residence, esteemed Kuan Su, Xianlingzi, and the others had been waiting outside for a long time. As the steward of the mountain, Ruanyu was also among them. Mo Fenghua's corpse has long been destroyed. Even if you wait until death, you won't see him appear. Just wait for his funeral. Ruanyu sneered in his heart. Suddenly, the door opened and Su Fang strode out. At this? How is this possible? Ruanyu's divine light instantly changed when he saw Su Fang walk out alive. His eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. He looked as if he had seen a ghost in broad daylight. Lord Ruanyu, you seem to be a little unwell? Su Fang looked at Ruanyu and asked with great concern. Ruanyu forced a smile. Thank you for your concern, young Master Mo. I just encountered some problems during my cultivation. I'll recover in a few days. Su Fang appeared to be unusually enthusiastic. I still have some ambergris god illuminating incense left. Lord Ruanyu, do you want to use it to cultivate? I'm sure it'll be good for your injuries. Thank you for your kindness, young master. The ambergris god illuminating incense was given to you by the Realm Lord. How would I dare to use it? Ruanyu hurriedly declined as layers of coldness seeped out of his back. Then I won't force you, Lord Ruanyu. Su Fang smiled embarrassedly. Then, together with the 10,000 people of the Kuan Su divine sect, he majestically headed toward a training hall at the center of the secret realm. Ruanyu looked at Su Fang's back with eyes filled with disbelief. He really couldn't understand. Su Fang had clearly been poisoned by the ambergris god illuminating incense and the withered red spider lily and turned into a pool of blood. How was he still alive and kicking? The location of the finals of the Kimiko Hoshino competition was held in the Star Below Divine Realm's secret realm. In order to enter the training hall where the finals would be held, everyone had to pay an amount of divine jade equivalent to a peak middle-rank divine artifact in order to obtain a seat to watch the finals. Although this was the case, the training hall that could hold over 100 million people had long been sold out. Because of this, the Star Below Divine Realm made a huge profit. Because Su Fang was ranked in the top 50 of the preliminaries, he was given 10,000 seats. He had the qualifications to bring the Kuan Su Divine Sect directly into the training hall for the finals. Otherwise, just the entrance fee alone would be enough to bankrupt the Kuan Su Divine Sect. To be able to watch the finals of the Godchild competition without having to pay a single divine jade, Master Kuan Su and the other cultivators of the Kuan Su Divine Sect all felt extremely honored. They all felt a sense of superiority. The outside of the training hall was enveloped by a powerful barrier. There was only one passage that could be entered, and it was guarded by the experts of the Star Below Divine Realm. After checking the identities of Su Fang and the people of the Kuan Su Divine Sect, Su Fang and the others passed through the array passage and entered the training hall. In the center of the training hall, there was a 10,000-meter tall mountain floating 100 meters above the ground. It gave people a feeling that the sky was shaking. There were many powerful arrays on the mountain peak. It was difficult to see what was inside the arrays. Below the mountain peak was a huge array space. Many of the participating geniuses had already entered and were waiting for the finals to begin. In the void around the mountain peak, layers of array space were opened up by powerful divine abilities for the audience to watch the finals. The layers of array space surrounded the mountain peak. It was enough to hold over 100 million people. At the peak of the mountain, there was a 300-meter tall black stone tablet. On the stone tablet, the words, Kimiko Hoshino Tablet, emitted a glaring xian guang. The names of the 100 peerless geniuses who won the finals would be forever engraved on the Kamiko Hoshino tablet as a sign of glory. Kamiko Hoshino tablet. Su Fang's divine light swept across the stone tablet. A confident smile appeared on his face. Then, he slowly flew down into the array space below. Chapter 1944. Bai Holan's appearance in the training field immediately attracted everyone's attention. Glancing at Kamiko Hoshino's tablet, Bai Holan revealed a look of disdain and pride. The Kamiko Hoshino competition is just the beginning of my fame. Kamiko Hoshino is nothing. My goal is to become the godchild of the star field. Then, Song Jie appeared as well. His eyes were filled with morbid excitement and bloodlust as he looked at Bai Holan. This person cultivated the Tao of devouring and destruction. He was a complete madman. Bai Holan smiled faintly. He didn't take Song Jie seriously at all. In the star billow divine realm, there wasn't a single genius that he took seriously. 10,000 geniuses gathered in the formation space below, waiting for the start of the godchild competition. Some were excited, some were nervous. Mo Fenghua will definitely enter the top 100. Young Lord Mo is a peerless genius. He will definitely become Kamiko Hoshino. Many disciples of Kuan Su's divine sect shouted loudly in the sky, cheering for Su Fang. They didn't care if Su Fang could hear them or not. Mo Fenghua, this idiot, wants to become Kamiko Hoshino? A frog at the bottom of a well, boasting shamelessly. Everyone's shouts attracted waves of mockery and ridicule. Who's the idiot? You're the idiot. Your entire clan is idiots. Ling Xiangmei was the first to counterattack. Kuan Su's divine sect disciples also cursed angrily. In the end, even some elders of Kuan Su's divine sect joined in. If esteemed Kuan Su didn't care about his status, he probably would have joined in without hesitation. However, the voices of Kuan Su's divine sect were quickly drowned out by the sound wave. Bai Holan, who can hide the brilliance of a genius? Bai Holan. Song Jie. Zhou Kuanga. Yuan Yunyu. Piercing metal. In the grandstand space, there was a burst of earth-shattering cheers. The crowd fell into a frenzy as they shouted the names of the geniuses one after another. Naturally, Bai Holan's name was mentioned the most, followed by Song Jie and the geniuses of the star billow divine realm. Ling Xiangmei yelled until her throat was hoarse, but her voice was still unable to suppress the heaven-shaking shouts of over 100 million people. She couldn't help but be furious. Just wait until that brat is strong enough to beat all of the geniuses of the star billow god realm to the ground. Even Bai Holan and Song Jie will be defeated as well. Let's see how embarrassed you all will be then. Defeat Bai Holan and Song Jie? To the side, Master Kuan Su, Xianlingzi, and the others were speechless and smiled bitterly. Ling Xiangmei really dared to dream. Master Kuan Su said worriedly, "The situation is extremely unfavorable to Mo Fenghua. If she wants to enter the top 100 this time, I'm afraid it will be somewhat difficult." Su Fang was only at the 7th firmament celestial deity realm, while the opponents he faced did not have a cultivation base lower than his. What worried Master Kuan Su the most was not this, but that among these 10,000 geniuses, the majority of them were from the star billow divine realm. After the end of the preliminaries, Mo Fenghua's name was like the sun in the sky. Even the star billow realm lord showed that he valued him very much. This attracted the intense jealousy of countless people, especially the geniuses of the star billow divine realm. In the finals this time, Su Fang had already become the target of public criticism. Without absolute strength, it would be very difficult to enter the top 100. Master Kuan Su's worry was not without reason. Fenghua being able to enter the finals and being valued by the Star Billow Realm Lord is already an unexpected surprise. Even if he can't become Kamiko Hoshino, there is nothing to be disappointed about. Xianlingzi's performance was very calm. Master Kuan Su thought of that good-for-nothing Mo Fenghua in the past, then thought of Mo Fenghua's current performance, and couldn't help but laugh involuntarily. Whoosh! In the void above the peak, a spatial door opened, and a group of people filed out. Qishao Shinjun and an old woman walked side by side at the front. The Star Billow Realm Lord and the other big shots of the Star Billow Divine Realm followed closely behind, and the 3 Divine Kings were also among them. The old woman walking with Qishao Shinjun looked kind and amiable, not much different from the old grannies in the mortal world who spent all day sunbathing on the street. However, her aura was void, and Qishao Shinjun was also very respectful in front of her. It could be seen that her strength and identity were both extraordinary. The Star Billow Realm Master took out a magic treasure, and it transformed into a magnificent and beautiful palace garden. Many powerful beings entered one of the palaces in the palace garden. Qishao, are you really sure that the peerless genius that Lord Wuji put into the Primal Chaos Golden Ranking is among these geniuses of the Star Billow Divine Realm? The Lord of the Star Billow Divine Realm is very concerned about this matter, which is why he asked this Lord to personally make a trip to the Star Billow Divine Realm. You must not be mistaken. After sitting down, the old woman asked Qishao Shinjun, Lord Zhu Yanjun, how can this one be careless about such a big matter? Qishao Shinjun cupped his fists and said to the old woman. It turned out that this old woman was one of the 3 heavenly lords under the Lord of the Star Billow Divine Realm, Zhu Yanjun. There were 3 heavenly lords and 10 divine lords under the Lord of the Star Billow Divine Realm. The status of a heavenly lord was equivalent to that of a great elder in a sect. Not only was their strength unfathomable, but their status was also above everyone else. Qishao Shinjun was one of the 10 divine lords, and his status was lower than that of a heavenly lord. The Star Billow Divine Realm's Godchild Competitions Finals, and the Lord of the Star Billow Divine Realm had actually sent a heavenly lord. Of course, the main purpose of Zhu Yanjun's trip was for the peerless genius on the Primal Chaos Golden Ranking. The Star Billow Realm Lord and the other big shots of the Star Billow Divine Realm were all shocked when they heard the conversation between the 2 great figures. Although they did not understand what the Primal Chaos Golden Ranking was, they knew that the person who could make Zhu Yanjun move out was definitely a peerless genius in the entire star field. Only then would he be qualified to be listed on the Primal Chaos Golden Ranking. Zhu Yanjun nodded and then asked, It should be by Holan, no doubt? Lord Zhu Yanjun, just wait and see. Who knows, there might be an unexpected surprise. Qishao Shinjun said with a smile. The Star Billow Realm Lord and the others immediately became excited. If there really was a peerless genius that was valued by the Lord of the Star Billow Divine Realm, then there would be no one other than Bai Holan among the 10,000 geniuses present. If Bai Holan's talent was valued by the Lord of the Star Billow Divine Realm, the benefits to the Star Billow Divine Realm were self-evident. How could they not be excited? In the formation space below the mountain peak, 10,000 geniuses sat cross-legged on the ground, waiting for the finals to begin. Buzz buzz buzz. Su Fong felt waves of sensing energy pass through his body without restraint. Some of them were clearly filled with killing intent. The battle of the God Children is about the opportunity and fortune to change one's fate. Even if you don't have any ideas about me, I will take the initiative to find you. Su Fong sneered in his heart and looked up at the bottom of the giant mountain peak floating in the air. The formation space where the geniuses were in was 10 miles in size. The surroundings were completely sealed and connected to the mountain peak, forming a sealed space. At the bottom of the mountain peak there were a dozen or so dark caves. Although they were sealed, waves of evil, demonic, and even death aura seeped out of the caves from time to time. The rules of the finals should be to fight against the Big Goblin, the experts of the demonic path, and the resurrected experts. Su Fong inwardly guessed. After waiting for more than 2 hours, the Star Billow Realm Lord flew out of the formation space and arrived at the peak of the mountain. I will announce the rules of the battle of the God Children. Listen carefully. The noisy training ground suddenly quieted down. The location of the finals will be on this trial peak. However, only 1,000 people are qualified to enter the trial peak. In other words, you must first fight for the right to enter the trial peak. The first 1,000 people to enter the trial peak will face all kinds of tests. The final 100 people to reach the peak will be Kamiko Hoshino. As for the 9,000 people who are unable to enter the trial peak, they will be eliminated. There was an uproar in the formation space at the bottom of the mountain. They had worked so hard to enter the finals, but 90% of them were eliminated right off the bat. They didn't even have the right to enter the trial peak. It could be seen how cruel the finals were. A reminder to all geniuses. If you want to enter the trial peak, you must rely on your own strength to fight for it. In the trial peak, you must also use your own strength to fight for it. This is the battle of the Great Tao. Fighting for opportunities and fortune is not a trial. Therefore, there is no limit to killing. When the Star Billow Realm Lord's murderous voice sounded, the eyes of the geniuses in the formation space flashed with ruthlessness and determination. Looking at the geniuses around them, their eyes became sharp. Even if they were from the same sect or their friends, it was the same. In front of opportunities and fortune, other than oneself, everything else could be thrown aside. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Several gazes fell on Su Fong. One of the geniuses had a smile on his face. The way he looked at Su Fong was as though he was looking at a dead man. His sharp gaze fell on Su Fong, causing Su Fong to feel a piercing pain on his skin. It was enough to show how powerful this person was. He was at least at the second sky of the Divine Emperor realm. Su Fong's eyebrows furrowed. Everyone's attention is focused on fighting for the 1,000 spots to enter the trial peak. However, these people are still paying attention to me. It's obvious that they want to kill me. I don't know who ordered them to do this. Is it the same faction as Ruinyu? The Star Billow Realm Lord's majestic voice sounded again. If you want to withdraw now, it's not too late to regret it later. The Star Billow Realm Lord's bright eyes fell on the formation space. After a moment of silence, no one took the initiative to stand out. It wasn't easy for them to enter the finals. Even if there was no hope for Kamiko Hoshino, all the geniuses had to risk their lives. Otherwise, their Tao heart would be damaged and their future cultivation would be greatly affected. They would be shackled for life. If they withdrew now, how would they face others in the future? Very good. Since that's the case, let the battle of the divine children begin. When the Star Billow Realm Lord's voice sounded, the formation door at the bottom of the mountain suddenly opened. Ferocious aura surged out, shaking the heavens. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Geniuses rushed towards the formation door one after another. There were only a dozen formation doors, but there were more than 10,000 people who wanted to enter. A chaotic battle unavoidably began. Mo Fenghua, hand over your life obediently. Chapter 1945. It's Bai Shen. He actually wants to kill Mo Fenghua. Let's go before we follow that idiot Mo Fenghua and suffer a calamity. The nearby geniuses recognized Bai Shen's identity and fled into the distance, afraid of being caught in the crossfire. Bai Shen, a second Heaven Divine Emperor Realm genius from the Star Billow God Realm, ranked 17th according to the Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce's prediction. Such a genius actually didn't rush to enter the trial peak when the finals of the God-Child competition had just begun. Instead, he directly charged toward Su Fong. You lowly ant, what qualifications do you have to be valued by the Realm Lord and become Kamiko Hoshino? Kid, hand over your life, Bing Ning. As expected of a genius from the Star Billow God Realm, who was ranked in the top 20 by the Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce, Bai Shen activated his divine ability and a cold aura swept out, instantly enveloping Su Fong. Bai Shen cultivated the great Tao of water, but the law he cultivated wasn't the usual vast and turbulent water law, nor was it the endless or flexible kind. It was the other extreme of water, the law of ice. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Cold frost immediately floated in 100-meter radius around Su Fang, and a divine might that could freeze everything shackled the entire space. Under this divine might, Su Fang felt his life force and divine energy stop circulating. Even his young spirit was frozen, and his thoughts and consciousness became sluggish. Ice shatter. Bai Shen sent out a hand seal. Su Fang's body, which had almost turned into a block of ice, immediately let out a series of cracking sounds. Countless people in the spectator stands saw this scene and immediately went into an uproar. What's wrong with this genius from the star below God realm? He actually attacked Mo Fenghua the moment he entered the arena? The eyes of Kuan Su and everyone from the God realm changed. Even esteemed Kuan Su and Xian Lingzi couldn't remain calm and stood up nervously. The strength Bai Shen displayed far exceeded Su Fang's, so everyone couldn't help but worry. In the spectator stands, Ji Xingyue, who had changed her appearance, sneered sinisterly. Killing this bastard like this is too easy for him. In the treasure space above the trial peak, the Star Billow Realm Lord was observing the situation. Naturally, he saw Bai Shen attacking Su Fang and couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Qishao Shenjun smiled faintly. Realm Lord is a little biased. Mo Fenghua comes from Kuan Su Divine Sect, but the genius who attacked him is a disciple of your Star God realm. The Starwave Realm Master said, in terms of talent, Mo Fenghua isn't inferior to Bai Holan. If she were to die here, it would be too much of a pity. Divine Monarch Qi Shao said carelessly, Your Excellency, don't forget that Mo Fenghua possesses the great desolate earth flames. Before he finished speaking, boom! A fiery divine might that was filled with a desolate aura burst out from Su Fang's body. The icy aura that had sealed Su Fang's god body vanished under this divine flame. The power of laws that had shackled the space also began to crumble layer by layer under the astonishing divine might of the flames. I don't care why you want to kill me, you will pay a heavy price. Su Fang merged the prehistoric inflammation with his divine body. At the same time, he activated the illusory fire cloud and took a step forward. His right fist carried the scorching heat and majestic aura of the fusion of the earth and fire elements as it violently attacked Bai Shen. Boom boom boom. Bai Shen's divine light changed in an instant. Layers of cold light condensed into many ice barriers in front of him. His strength was not ordinary, and he had comprehended the law of ice. It was definitely not luck that made him 17th in the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. However, Bai Shen's divine ability was completely suppressed by the divine power of the prehistoric inflammation. Moreover, the prehistoric inflammation had been carefully cultivated by Su Fang for many years. It was no longer at the level when it was first born in the Sui Yu cave. The divine power of fire contained the divine power of the earth element. Under the divine power of the prehistoric inflammation, Bai Shen's ice barrier quickly melted. Su Fang charged in front of Bai Shen like a hot knife through butter. Do you think I'm afraid of an ant like you? Ice blast fist. Bai Shen's face was full of disdain, but his eyes were filled with wariness. He braced himself and used his divine ability again to clash with Su Fang. Boom! The violent divine power of fire burned Bai Shen's divine ability to nothing. The unstoppable punch sent him flying with a wave of fire. The power of the prehistoric inflammation was just this domineering. Bai Shen flew more than 300 meters before he managed to stabilize himself. He staggered and almost couldn't maintain his flying state. Not only had his divine body been burned by the divine power of the prehistoric inflammation, his divine palace had also been invaded by the divine power of the fire element. He had suffered significant damage, and even his primordial spirit felt like it was burning. In this short clash, Bai Shen had almost lost the ability to fight. Disciple of the Star Below God realm, help me suppress this ant. Bai Shen no longer had his previous arrogance. He turned around and flew toward a crowded area. No one can save you. Su Fang's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He flapped his wings of fire and chased after Bai Shun relentlessly. The aggressive Bai Shun had turned into a stray dog. All the geniuses in the formation space were shocked. Many people in the spectator stands also noticed this scene, which immediately caused an uproar of exclamations. Bai Shun, a genius of the Star Billow God realm and ranked 17th in the Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce's prediction, was being chased by a heavenly god ranked 250. How shocking was this? I knew it. How could this kid be so easy to bully? Kill that pretty boy! Ling Xiangmei jumped up and shouted from the stands where the Kuan Su Divine sect was located. Many of the Kuan Su Divine sect disciples followed suit. This scene. Qi Shao Shenjun sighed. Prehistoric inflammation is worthy of being called a treasure of the primordial era. Amazing, truly amazing! Zhu Yanjun snorted inexplicably. Prehistoric inflammation is an external force. He can't be considered a genius if he relies on external forces. Qi Shao Shenjun said. Prehistoric inflammation isn't the only thing this kid has. Lord Heavenly Monarch, please wait and see. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A dozen or so geniuses of the Star Billow God realm charged toward Su Fang. Who do you think you are, Mo Fenghua? Do you think you can become Kamiko Hoshino? Graham. How dare you chase after the geniuses of the Star Billow God realm? Suppress him. The geniuses of the Star Billow God realm roared angrily and attacked Su Fang fiercely. Kuan Chaotic Formless Seal, Gravity Law. Su Fang used the Kuan Chaotic Formless Seal, and the power of the laws of nature covered an area of 300 meters. A strong gravitational force descended upon them, forcing the geniuses to sink. Even the auras of their martial arts and artifacts weakened significantly. Boom! Then, a repulsive force exploded, and the Star Billow God realm geniuses couldn't maintain their balance. All of their attacks missed. A few of the weaker Heavenly God realm geniuses couldn't withstand the change in gravity and repulsive force. Their divine bodies shattered, and they fell to the ground with heavy injuries. Let's see who can save you this time. Su Fang flew past like a cloud of fire and caught up to Bai Shun in an instant. Bai Shun felt a scorching aura sweep toward him, and fear appeared on his face. He shouted at Piercing Metal for help. Piercing Metal, save me! Jean Sure flew through the air and slashed his right palm in the air. A golden rainbow-like sharp blade of light slashed towards Su Fang with a terrifying aura that seemed to be able to split the sky and earth. Earthshaker Treasured Boots. Su Fang's right foot stomped on the ground, creating a shockwave of divine might. Screech! Piercing Metal's attack actually shattered the defense of the Earthshaker Treasured Boots, and it only lost a small portion of its power. The blade slashed towards Su Fang. Boom! Su Fang's divine body suddenly turned into a blazing cloud of fire. He was no longer in his normal physical state, and he was cut in half by Piercing Metal's attack. However, the blazing cloud of fire curled up and condensed once more. It enveloped Piercing Metal with an aura that could burn the heavens and boil the seas. After a series of hissing sounds, Piercing Metal roared furiously. His body emitted a sharp golden light, and the cloud of fire was blasted away. The cloud of fire curled up again, and Su Fang, who had returned to his physical state, pounced toward Bai Shun. Piercing Metal shouted domineeringly, "Mo Fenghua, if you dare kill Bai Shun, I, Piercing Metal, will kill you on the spot. Only he can kill me, but I can't kill him. What a tyrannical logic. If I, Mo Fenghua, want to kill someone, no one can stop me." A mysterious power of time circulated around Su Fang. The winged divine artifact on his back suddenly danced, and Su Fang shot out like an arrow. He then opened his mouth and spat out a silver Xian Guang. "You're courting death." The sharp sword intent of Piercing Metal converged into a terrifying wave of sword chi, tearing Su Fang's body to pieces. Time Flow Divine Ability. The divine light of Piercing Metal changed slightly. By the time he reacted, he heard a muffled bang. Bai Shen was blown away by the mountain formed by Su Fang's art of mountain driving. He fell to the ground like a kite with a broken string. Bai Shen stood up shakily. A hole had appeared in his chest, revealing his organs. His aura was weak, and he was heavily injured. It was impossible for him to continue participating in the upcoming battle. Bai Shen's strength was extremely impressive. Originally, becoming Kimiko Hoshino was something that was set in stone. Who knew that Su Fang, whom he viewed as an ant, would severely injure him, cutting off his hopes? To any genius, becoming Kimiko Hoshino meant an unparalleled fortune and opportunity. Bai Shen losing the chance to become Kimiko Hoshino was worse than killing him. Mo Fenghua, you and I cannot live under the same sky. Bai Shen roared in anger and despair. Then, he fell to the ground and fainted. The dozen or so Star Below God Realm geniuses who were charging toward Su Fang suddenly glowed with divine light. Floating, 9 true 9 suns, do you have the right to be my sworn enemy? Su Fang smiled coldly and embarrassedly. Then, he looked at Piercing Metal. Piercing Metal revealed a fearful expression. He shouted coldly, Mo Fenghua, you have the right to enter the trial peak. I will wait for you there. Let's see how long you can last with the help of prehistoric inflammation. In Piercing Metal's opinion, Su Fang was able to defeat Bai Shen not because of Su Fang's strength, but because of prehistoric inflammation. Even if the primeval earth flame's power was boundless, with Su Fang's 7th firmament celestial deity cultivation, how long could he sustain displaying the divine might of flames? Once Su Fang lost the support of prehistoric inflammation, he would be a tiger that had lost its claws and fangs. At that time, wouldn't he be at his mercy?